תשים מקום, אנחנו בסוף. נעשה בלגן.
My niece also is Sarah. This is another Sarah, Daniel, my niece. We have three Sarahs.
No cookies in front of me.
About it, yeah. I am saving it for me.
Yeah, right here.
For me,
Zion. Who else would be taking the pictures?
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry I said that.
yeah, we're gonna wait for
He said who else? I
But he
know.
actually is a full multi-purpose guy. He can take the picture.
Well aware.
I just want to say hi to him.
I can't really move, so I can't not wait.
Why is there a camp? Everyone thinks they live in a finally, I'm thinking that you could come up.
Do you know? I've been here. I just want to say hi.
at the Thanksgiving
Bennett, no, I have a video of me. No, he's dead to me now. He's dead to me. He's dead to me now. Oh, Bennett. I started crying. And that's why I got it.
I'm sorry. This is beautiful.
We can find our way home if we need to.
Until the Mashiach comes after the 2.5
My daughter this morning said 3 things that they have, and I'm like, he only comes like, oh, you didn't say Mashiach. He would have come. My Sarah.
He's still in the dude. He's waiting. He's waiting for a second back.
Even if I didn't know and I knew it was, I would have come. You know, if you forgot, I would have known that I was coming and I would have come. So I know exactly what's אני אכלתי בדרך, בעוד...
משהו אחד. She's very connected. She knows Yishai and she knows Ari and she knows Jeremy.
That was quick, Yofi.
She's connected. And you want to be happy. Okay?
It's okay, Sarah. It's okay. It's not important.
Let's go, everybody.
Right?
Get on the bus. Sarah on the bus. Everyone's here. Let's go.
How you doing, Daniel? I heard there's a good tour guide today. I'm not a tour guide. Hey, tour guide is this one here. You want a tour guide?
Simcha. He's a tour guide on the bus. He's like the number one tour guide of Hebron.
באמת, כל מה שאני למדתי בחברון, למדתי ממנו.
זה ממש כאילו כבוד שהוא הגיע היום, נכון? זה ממש כבוד שהוא הגיע היום. Let's go. Chaim's last, I think. Okay, beep, beep, everybody. שלום, מה שלומך? תודה שחיכית, אנחנו כבר הגענו. כולם הגיעו, תודה, בוקר טוב. זהו, כל מי שעומד פה.
Do you want to ask Sarah to
Hi, thank you so much for coming.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming. Really.
It's already buckled. So
What the what?
Everyone's special here.
What's going on? That's you and me.
Is that for you? I don't want it on your neck because you're not tall enough for it to be on your neck. Just around your waist, okay? Is that good? All right. Rifki, kind of want you in your own seat. Yoni, there are 2 seats, and you can have Ricky sit next to you on my lap. I feel like that would be safer. Rebecca.
Yes.
There's Sara.
I'll go sit next to Sharon. You don't have to move.
You have a lot of stuff.
No, just put the tiki on the floor.
Okay, let's go.
You feel what, sweetheart? Are you
Dana.
excited now that we're on the bus?
I
I'm
need
with
you.
Okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
give you some water
Hello.
to drink.
Let's go.
Okay, we're just in the car for a long time.
I know. Let's go.
I don't want to intervene.
Well, what are we waiting for? לא, לא הבנתי. Why can't we go? לא משנה. We still have to get the bus moving.
We're going.
Let's go. We're staying on schedule. Let's go. 10:15.
Yes, you need to buckle up.
Rifki, I'm right here. Welcome everyone. Hey,
Okay. Is there a microphone?
I need to be buckled and safe. So, Rifki, I need you to sit next to her.
Come, Rifki.
Hello.
You can sit by the window and we'll look outside.
Rifki, you need to sit in a safe seat so you can sit down and buckle up.
I haven't seen you. You're still not in. I'm down in Gilgal, so in Gilgal you're a bit cut off.
You didn't overlook us. We actually have it.
Okay. Thank you, Emuna. I'm gonna wait till the bus gets to the light and then I'll swap seats with you.
Okay.
Can you get Emuna out one of the water bottles from
And
the
then you'll tell them what we're doing? Okay. Hi, everybody. Oh, no. Hi, everybody. I'm taking over Yoni's job as the person in the front seat with the microphone.
Okay, you can come sit down.
Thank you, everyone who's here. And it's very, very, very meaningful and special and important and heartwarming and touching. And, wow, like, really special that for everybody that's here. And also for the people who are watching on live stream, it's very, very meaningful. Going to pass the microphone over to Daniel Luria, who is the, what are you, director? He's the director, he's the heartbeat, he's the pulse and the life of Ateret Cohanim. Ateret Cohanim, who is the organization that built and named Beit Sara, maintains and runs Beit Sara, among other properties. And of course, that was the thing that touched my mother's heart the most, and that's why we're here today. And I'm going to let Daniel explain more. And yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. Are you with me? Do I hear Boker Tov? Hands up if you hear me. Okay, so fine.
We're polite. We just try to be extra polite.
That's fine. Okay, Beseda. I don't apologise for the Australian accent, but if there's any words that you don't understand, just let me know. I am the executive director and spokesperson for Ateret Cohanim, but really I'm just a small cog in a very, very important wheel, especially nowadays where it seems that Hamas is connecting everything to Jerusalem, Iran is connecting everything to Yerushalayim, and Yerushalayim is really the central aspect of maybe the whole Arab-Israel conflict, which I'm not going to get into. I do say with everyone here that our tefillot are with many people today in Am Yisrael, not just down in South, we're really all together in the one boat, and we are all in some ways under attack. And maybe this is in some way a very symbolic response that we are actually driving out to Kidmat Zion. There was a question mark whether we should, whether we shouldn't have it, given the situation. Dafka, given the situation, and as Adina said to me, her mum wouldn't have even considered twice putting something like this off, and therefore we're going along with this very special event occasion. We're first of all going to be driving to the Tayelet. Usually these tours, if we were to have a formal Ateret Cohanim tour, would start in Abu Tor to appreciate the whole story of what really is the battle over Yerushalayim today. We know that the concept of East Yerushalayim doesn't exist. You don't need to be a genius to realize that today Jerusalem can't be divided. There are 215,000 Jews living in East Jerusalem, and not even Arafat Yamach Shemoy expected the Israeli government to take Jews out of Ramot or Ramat Eshkol. That wasn't going to happen. The battle is over one area, and that's called the Holy Basin. The old city and the area around the old city. Can you see it? Yeah. And that's the focus of the work of Ateret Cohanim. In a nutshell, for those who maybe aren't familiar, and I don't know if there is someone here who's not familiar with Ateret Cohanim, we basically try and do what the JNF did for many years. But strengthening Jewish roots in the heart of Yerushalayim and keeping Yerushalayim in Jewish hands. It's not easy. The real estate that we're talking about is more than just problematic. We see recently in relation to Shimon HaTzadik, which is not under the auspices of Ateret Cohanim, we can see specifically how explosive the situation is in relation to real estate. It is real estate with a twist, and this is the head of the organisation. Only my wife and the head of the organisation, the only two people I'd probably answer. Excuse me 1 second.
If it's Mati, tell him I'm waiting.
Mati, 1 second. Yes, we can tell him.
Mati.
That's Mati Dunn, the founder of the organisation. This strengthening of Jewish roots and the acquisitions, the redeeming of properties has taken place today inside the old city and just outside the old city in what is today called Kvar Manim. Ir David, the city of David, used to be part of Ateret Cohanim, today a separate organisation. Malea Zeitim, where there's a Jewish neighbourhood, which we call the jewel in the crown of Ateret Cohanim, and Kidmat Zion, which is where we're driving to and where Beit Sara is located. These facts on the ground, this Jewish presence, is what the world is trying to stop. What the Arab world will do anything to try and stop. It starts with, obviously, the violence, and what we're seeing today, I want it to be very clear, and we've said it 100 times, if the government or police may have taken the very first rock thrown at the very first family who moved into the Yemenite village seriously 20 years ago, maybe things would have been different. If we do something different with the first missile, we wouldn't be 100,000 or 200,000 missiles later, but that's not the reality. Our families in the Yemenite village, for example, have been under attack since they've been there, since 2004. Molotov cocktails, concrete blocks, a washing machine, stones. It has been literally a war zone there since 2004. The only time we've seen a regia, a quiet, is when we've added more families. In fact, our chief security officer said to us all the time, if you want better security, keep on adding Jewish life. So that's the focus of the work at Ateret Cohanim. I will add one other thing in relation to real estate. An Arab who sells is killed. So it's obviously not straightforward, which is why Arabs have to be moved overseas, pretend court cases, middlemen not moving in for many years. Whatever needs to be done is done to protect the Arabs who are selling. It doesn't mean that the Arabs aren't selling. Since I've been with the organisation, which is now 21 years, there's always more Arabs selling than Jews buying. That's the sad reality, which means maybe we're not up to the job of doing what we should be doing. Maybe we need to get the JNF involved. That's another story itself, how we can get some of the public institutions, government institutions, in redeeming and reclaiming land for Am Yisrael. So we're first of all just going to go to Abu Tor just to tell you that we're not going to get out because of time, but you'll be in a situation you'll be able to see literally the Holy Basin and where we work. It's important to understand why we work, where we work. I'm not saying we're doing it to stuff the peace process, but we're not fools. We do understand that these facts on the ground, this Jewish presence in certain positions, are rather significant vis-a-vis how Jerusalem theoretically could have been divided. You'll remember Oslo, the disaster of Oslo. Well, I don't know how many of you remember, but Barak in the year 2000 was about to hand away. Anyone remember what was about to hand away? Part of Jerusalem. 5 of the 7 gates of the old city. The Holy Basin, the corridor to Abu Dis. The Abu Dis was going to become Area A. Try to imagine what Yerushalayim would look like today if 5 of the 7 gates, the Holy Basin and the corridor to Abu Dis would be in Palestinian Hamas PA hands today. Thank God Arafat, who wanted everything, said no. And everything changed. We're going to be Beit Sara, by the way, is about 50 meters away or 100 meters away from the Palestinian Parliament House. That's where we're driving to now. It's empty. We're still in charge of Abu Dis on the other side. We have 10 families there. You'll hear more about when we actually get there. But first of all, as you can start to see, looking across the valley. אנחנו לא יודעים, אנחנו נרצה להיות במקום שאפשר לראות את הנוף מכאן. נכון, ותחכה שם בפנים. I may not be family, but I want to say that seeing Yoni, actually more than Adina actually, I've got this picture in my mind of the two of us shaking hands after we either just put up a mezuzah or a flag on Beit Sara when we just moved in. So here to tell you,
That's why this
phenomenal.
That
was the same hat?
Yeah, we all had to wear yellow hats for it to lose like the
You're right, to identify everyone. We had to say, very good, amazing.
I held on to it ever since.
Anyway, everyone, have a look across. We're not going to get out, but this is definitely.
Oh, do you see it? Do you see?
So,
That's where Beit Hamikdash is going to be.
Right, that's the first thing. I've just been told that's what the Beit Hamikdash is going to be. Excellent, kolakavod. So, this basically what you're looking at right across the valley is effectively the Holy Basin. It's the most perfect view of the whole of Ir David, which is the hilly outcrop that goes down towards us from the walls of the old city. The wall that you specifically see there, if everyone looks across the valley, you can see the Golden Dome, the place of Kodesh Kodashim. You can see El Aqsa, the Grey Dome. The wall in front of that is, of course, the southern wall. If you've got good eyesight, you'll actually notice on the far right-hand side of the south wall there are new white stones around the window. You may recall that the Arabs, once again, they changed the status quo on Har HaBayit. They built illegally in the catacombs of Har HaBayit. They built a massive mosque in what's called Solomon's Stables, even though Shlomo had nothing to do with it, because it's obviously the area where Herod enlarged, nothing to do with Shlomo. But the area is called Solomon's Stables. And the south wall was about to collapse. There was a huge bulge. You would think that as a sovereign state we would fix our own south wall, but the Israeli government buckled, unfortunately, and allowed for Egyptian and Jordanian workers to come in and to fix the south wall. That's why there's new stones around the windows on the right-hand side of the south wall. The hilly outcrop that comes down once again from the old city towards us is called the City of David. It's basically 50% Jewish, 50% Arab. There are 85 Jewish families living there today. Massive tourism. Before Corona, the year before Corona, 420,000 people visited Ir David. The Arabs, of course, don't recognize Ir David. They call that area and the area to the right. There's a bit of grass, empty area, goes down to a valley called the Kidron Valley, specifically the King's Garden, and on the right-hand side of the valley is the Yemenite village. The Arabs call the whole area Silwan. But without upsetting the Arab world too much on this bus, before there was a single Arab living there, as some of you may already know, Yemenite Jews came here in 1882 believing the Mashiach was going to come. As it says in Shir HaShirim, even though I will get cut climbing a date tree, I'll ultimately reach the dates. In Hebrew those words are A'ale Batamar. I will go up in the year Tafresh Membet. I'll go up to the dates, and the same word Batamar, Tafresh Membet equals 1882. They came, they trekked, 2 families, 15 families, before Silwan, before Arabs, before anything whatsoever, 144 at least Yemenite Jews and Sfaradim living in the area today known as Silwan, then known as Kfar HaShiloach or Kfar HaTemanim. Unfortunately, exactly what we're seeing today, with one difference: pogroms and riots, burning of synagogues, desecration of Sifrei Torah, stones. I'm not sure if they had Molotov cocktails, but burning, looting, pillaging. Exactly the same thing happened in the 20s and 30s, 36, 37. The British, and this is the huge difference, the British didn't want to or couldn't protect the Jews who were there. So rather than arrest the rioting Arabs, what do? You take out the Jews. You punish the Jews, you take them out and let the Arabs do what they want. That's what the British did. I'm not going to go into what the Israeli government did or didn't do, but today, thank God, we have a sovereign Jewish state and we have police and an army to act the way they should be acting. And the Jews aren't taken out, but the same riots did take place. In fact, I carry on me 24 hours a day, except for Shabbos, when I change my pants, a letter from the British High Commissioner. Trust me, it's here, it's with 24 hours a day, where the High Commissioner promises that the Jewish refugees will be able to return to their homes, because he takes them out with a promise that they can return. That's a British recognition that that area is a Jewish neighbourhood, that the Jews are refugees and they have rights to return. Today, of course, the British are talking about something else altogether, and the poor Arabs, and what are we doing to the Arabs? That's not quite reality. Today we have 22 families living in 6 buildings back in Kfar HaTemanim, and we got back the old Beit Knesset that was hidden behind all this illegal Arab building that's under restoration at the moment. An amazing story unfolding. The government is putting money down, but at the moment they're in court. Anyone see that? Does anyone know why the government's in court over the Yemenite village synagogue? Ir Amim. Have you heard of Ir Amim? Have you heard of Peace Now? Multiply Peace Now by 10, going left, and then you reach Ir Amim. They took the government to court saying they had no right to invest in restoring an old synagogue because the Hekdesh, it was part of the Hekdesh, the sanctified trust of the Yemenite Jews, because the Hekdesh was only meant to look after poor people. One of the jobs of the Hekdesh was making sure that the poor had homes in the Yemenite village. And they're trying to stop the government from pumping money to restore an old Yemenite village, part of the Hekdesh. They won't win, but it's still a battle that we're taking place with in the area. I'm sure all of you saw a month ago, we moved into 2 huge buildings in the area. We call it the Shiloah Heights. Very strategic. In fact, if you look at 2 o'clock, you can see a little cluster of trees. That's the upper side. I'm not talking about all the way to the top of Yahrzeit, not that one. And the other one is the Archaeologist Gate, which you only would know if you go to the southern excavations.
Okay, if you could just photograph it. I mean, is that where the reform...
In the southern excavations, there's a wall that goes out from the old city to go
דניאל,
to the stairs.
לכוון אותו.
למצוא לכיוון...
אתה רוצה פה?
הר ציון?
כן, נכון, אתה פונה ימינה כאילו שהר ציון, נכון?
כן, אם אני אגיע לכיכר של הר ציון, בסדר?
אני כאן איתך, אל תדע. אנחנו כאן.
הר ציון אני יודע לדבר.
אנחנו יורדים ימינה, לגיא בן ינון. יורד.
זה כיוון הערבים שם?
לא ערבים, זה כיוון יהודים. יש מודיעין ערבים שם, כן.
יש שם דרך סילואן גם ב...
אנחנו עולים בעיר דוד, זה הכל.
יש לך זכות הנסיעה של היום. כי אנחנו עולים לקדמת ציון, אזכרה של אימא שלי בעצמה, שנהרגה בפיגוע. כן. ויש שם בית על שמה בקדמת ציון. זה סמל עם ישראל. אז יש לך זכות היום שאתה מגיע לראות את המקומות האלו ולהסיע אותנו.
איזה פיגוע אימא שלך?
ב-2001 בכביש המנורות, פיגוע ירי.
יש שם מנהרות?
של גוש עציון.
כן, ממש ליד נווה דניאל.
כן, כן.
So the other thing is it when we photograph
You know when you go to some installations, you're inside the old city, correct? Right.
מה זה, פיגוע ירי?
פיגוע ירי.
So when you come to some installations, you have to leave the old city wall. You may not realize, but you actually go to the gate.
I got it.
Think about it. You go into some excavations, you see the road, you see where the shofar is, where it's running. If you want to go to the stairs...
So everyone's texting me, it's dropping. I said, what do you want? We're moving. Can you write something on the screen that says like we're
leaving the old city walls?
Well, what should I do? I couldn't reach out to everybody who's watching the live stream. I'm saying, can you write it on the live stream somewhere on the screen? Like how did they... I'm not on it. Should I tell my daughter? Okay. Is it going to be live for a little, like, people in America are not going to watch it now, they're going to watch it later. So that it'll be live later.
יש ימינה ולהמשיך לכביש הזה, ויש ימינה להביא למטה.
The link will be live later. You'll give it to me. Right, but I'm saying a lot of people, you know, they're going to want to watch it later, so they still click on the link, they'll be able to watch it. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone,
If you
hello.
write that
For
somewhere.
those who don't know, look across the valley. Everyone, look. Some of you may not ever realize it. You see there's that cable, a cable there? A cable crosses, and if you look back to your right, back right at the end of the cable, there's a cable car.
What should I
Remember,
write?
between 48 and 67,
What should I write?
this was all of no man's land.
The
And
coverage?
we had Jews that were on Har Zion. There were Jews on this side, but
Maybe-
in between was
maybe
no
drop
man's
here
land.
and there.
And they had to get sometimes weapons or food or the injured across. And so during the day that cable was down, and at night time they pulled it across in order to get whatever they needed to get across to those Jews that were on Har Zion at the time. There's a cable car museum there with information there. If you ever get a chance, you're walking by, and again, it's worthwhile to go in there and have a look. We're going to be turning now right through Gei Ben Hinnom and coming out at the bottom of Ir David, Kfar HaTeimanim, in a place called Gan HaMelech. It's called the King's Garden. Okay. Shlomo HaMelech planted every conceivable tree there. It's the border between Yehuda and Benjamin.
No.
I actually just gave you the answer, but in whose territory is Yerushalayim? Benjamin and Yehuda. She's got two eyes. You're pretty good. This is. Oh, she didn't say that answer. That's okay. It says that.
It's actually about the Gemara. It's like Washington, D.C., but it's neither here nor there.
What does Washington, D.C. mean? Explain that to me.
What state does Washington, D.C. belong to?
I got no idea. I'm from. I tell you about Melbourne, Australia. What do I care about Washington?
So whether it's an autonomous area that doesn't belong to either Shevet, or it's the...
Right. The question is a machloket whether it doesn't belong to any Shevet. Machloket, it doesn't belong. Hello. So we've just gone. We've lost.
Did it come out of the wall, maybe?
No. Now it works, yes. Machloket, whether it's owned by all 12 tribes or none of the 12 tribes, or whether it's Yehuda or Binyamin. But more important, slow down and hug, lad, tisak. I want everyone to see this. Everyone, as we're driving, right in front of us at 12 o'clock, everyone look straight ahead of you. You'll see the Beit Knesset. You can only see it now for the last month. It's exposed. The 3 white domes with the Israeli flag, literally at 12 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Right in front of us. It's only just now been exposed because all the illegal Arab building is gone. At 1:30, there is a tall building 6 stories high. That's Beit Yonatan for Jonathan Pollard, who was actually meant to come back. Yeah. Can you hear me at the back if I talk like this?
Yes.
Okay. Jonathan Pollard, who we're in touch with for a number of years, he's been in jail. That's the first building that we named smaller. Dedicated for him, Beit Yonatan, and God willing, very shortly he'll be coming back there in a very, very interesting. It won't be open to the public. We have to be very careful, except for Adina. Today, as I said, 22 families living in 6 buildings. There is a kollel and 8 families living in Beit Yonatan, and another 6 buildings, together with the. Unfortunately, there's no wind, otherwise you'd be able to see easily the huge Israeli flags on the 2 new buildings in the Shiloah Heights. If we pass these trees, maybe we'll be able to see it. No. Where is that? אתה עולה את העלייה, נכון? תצא לאט. תעצור לשנייה. Right, you can see across the valley, some of you, we've got there's a building there with an Israeli flag and a Magen David. Some of our buildings light up at night time. There's now a battle of the rooftops. We started with Magen Davids, and now the Arabs in the last year have put up tons of the Sahara Dome and the green whatever, with our huge Magen Davids on the side there. That's called Bet Rachel. There's a lot more Palestinian flags there that never existed until this recent war that we're currently in. You'll also notice, if you've got good eyesight, there are eyes throughout the whole of the neighborhood of different buildings. You'll notice a few eyes here and there. The eyes are done by the Arabs themselves, warning other Arabs, don't even think of selling to the Jews. Our eyes are on you. Be very, very careful what, when and how. It's throughout the whole of the neighborhood. It's just come up in the last year. But this, what is that? So that was Bet Rachel, one of the buildings you saw. There's Bet Funkin, another building. We have a country club there, by the way. A few donors helped us build a country club in the Shiloach. The manui is not high, it's fine, but we have a country club, no swimming pool yet. But we do have one safe area.
Wants to sign up.
You'd like to join?
Yoni wants to.
You have to live in the neighborhood though. You can see them now. You can see these vehicles on your left-hand side, the vehicles that, with the, you see these armed vehicles here? The government spends overall, you should know, just over 100 million shekels, so $30 million, on the security of all families. Maleh Zaitim, Kidmat Zion, Old City, Ir David, Kfar HaTeimanim, etc. Yeah, Yossi.
Tell people to close the windows at night, otherwise you wasted your money on
Yeah, the air conditioning is on, and it's a lot better if the windows are closed.
Even
so
though Corona.
even though Corona, this air conditioning unit has a special antivirus spray added to it. So
tell them because of the rocks.
Also because of the rocks.
They didn't hear.
Also because of the rocks. This is a rock-proof bus. It's going to be fine anyway, but just to be on the safe side, we might as well have it. And as Yossi pointed out, by the way, it's nice to have Yossi Baumel here. Yossi Baumel for many years, well before I was involved with Ateret Cohanim. I was involved with both the yeshiva and the Amuta, and it's
a good friend of mine.
And a good friend of Sarah's. We've just driven up, those who didn't realize, we drove up here David, the city of David. A massive archaeological dig is taking place on the left-hand side in what used to be the Givati compound. Yeah, you can have a look now. Look left, it's a massive archaeological dig. I'm sure all of you have been to David in the last few years. Yes?
Avi, you should really stand up and look at this. Look at this.
When I was telling you about the illegal Arab building on Yahrzeit, I told you about the stones around the windows. Now, those who didn't see it from afar, you'll be able to see it very clearly. And for those who didn't know about the archaeologist's gate, now you'll realize it, because the southern excavations is partly inside and partly outside the old city, you see? This is outside the old city walls, correct?
Okay, yes.
So in order to get there, you have to leave the wall. There's the gate. You see the gate there on your left-hand side?
You're like a hero.
Yes. Oh, wow. No, I wasn't over here. I thought you were doing something else.
If you look on your right-hand side, everyone, there's the Shechuna of Malei HaZeitim, which we're parking with the Israeli flag is. I'll tell you about that in a second when we get closer. But look on your right now, and in the middle of the cemetery, there are buses that are parked, correct? No one knows exactly, but we do know that somewhere from 20 to 30,000 graves were desecrated in the early 60s when, under the Jordanians, they paved that road called the road to Jericho, Derech Jericho. It's okay to drive on it today. It's been fixed up from a halachic point of view, and even Kohanim can drive and walk on that road. But just know that the beginnings of that road called Derech Jericho, that as you can see, literally drives through. And if you look up left, we just missed it now, but you'll see it doesn't matter. The other closed gate, as Yoni correctly pointed out, and as Sharon pointed out, Shar HaRachamim. That's the gate that the Mashiach is meant to come through. I don't know the exact order. Water will flow, enemies will fall. ימינה, כן. אנחנו פונים רק ימינה. אין סיור שהטרור קונים שפונים שמאלה. And if we have to, we go around a roundabout just so we can turn right. But
does your wife even like, you know?
She doesn't know what I do.
Yeah.
My wife doesn't know what I do. It actually took me about 8 years for her to realise what we're involved in. So Shara Hamim, that's the gate the Mashiach's going to come through one day.
Wow.
There's going to be Tchiat HaMeitim. Now the Arabs, about 1,000 years ago, according to most sources, they didn't want the Mashiach, so in their stupidity, they thought they could stop the Mashiach, who they thought was a Kohen, and block the gate with a cemetery. Obviously, if God wants the Mashiach, will come no matter what. Number two, the Mashiach is not a Kohen. And the halakha that you can't walk through a cemetery only applies to a Jewish cemetery, but we've still nevertheless seen a cemetery which is unfortunately enlarging itself, even with fake graves over the years. I think Aria King, if not mistaken, went to court a few times against the Waqf, or whoever thinks they're in charge of it, about stopping the encroaching of greater part of that eastern wall. If you look back right, those who have never seen it before, although I'm sure all of you have driven here before, back right is Shar Rachamim. You can see more of the eastern wall. This is all that was enlarged by Herod, of course, that went all the way to the south. We're on Har HaZeitim now, and you're about to see a little miracle. The miracle of Malei HaZeitim. Your grandparents are buried here, right here. Menachem Begin is here. אנחנו ממשיכים ישר. ישר. לא הגענו לו. אנחנו ממשיכים ישר.
מתי עיר דוד?
סיימת את זה. ממשיכים ישר.
אנחנו גיבורים היום. אנחנו נכנסים נכנסים. מה חשבת?
אוקיי, סע לאט לאט, אתה פונה ימינה ואז אתה חוזר לכיכר כאן וסע לאט לאט בלי לעצור. כן. Everyone look here on your right hand side. We call this the jewel in the crown. Look at this. A Jewish neighborhood on Yahrzeit today. Who would have thought? There are Jews you should know that are vertical Jews on Yahrzeit. Not just horizontal to be buried. We have Jews that are alive, kicking, dancing. Over 100 families on this side of the road. This is our biggest success story. And on the other side of the road, the left-hand side of the road, that used to be the police station for Yehuda v'Shomron, they've moved to the outskirts of Ma'ale Adumim, and another 100 families are going to be there. Very expensive units. Not part of Ateret Cohanim. This is the back of the neighborhood. If you look here, as you can see, the only type of damage that has ever really happened here, and there's been, I'm talking hundreds of Molotov cocktails over the years, has been Molotov cocktails from here. It's not like the Yemenite village where Arabs are literally on top of your apartment. Here, it's a massive complex, it's a mini gated neighborhood, but they do throw from where we're standing here at night time, Molotov cocktails that have hit to some of the balconies, as you can see there on the right hand side. Why do I call this the jewel in the crown? Because I guess mainly because of the objections of the world in the middle of Oslo. What the hell are you doing, Ateret Cohanim? You're meant to be giving away land. Division. That's not going to happen. You're adding Jewish life east of the old city. This was never ever going to happen. The world, every single person in the world stood on their hind legs. The Quartet, the United Nations, the EU, the Arab League. Remember Arafat's famous comment? The only Jews I will ever allow in my Al-Quds are those who have been here for generations. Well, today he's dead and buried with his 71-year-old virgin, and we have a Jewish neighborhood on Yahrzeit. So it's Bon Amshicha.
They're not 71 years old, they're 71 of them.
See, Adina misunderstands. They misread it. They think it's 71 virgins, but it's a 71-year-old virgin. It's a misreading of their own sources.
MJ, that's where Yishai used to live.
Yes. In fact, it's good that we came here. Yoni just reminded me. This is where we started the whole project of Beit Sara. The operation, the move into the neighborhood in 2004 started from here with workers, yeshiva students, even policemen are working hand in hand to go from here to this new area called Kidmat Zion. Before we talk about Kidmat Zion, I told you, Rak Yemina. It's not a political statement either. Most people don't realize it, but Yahrzeit goes all the way down the mountain here. Whenever you look at Yahrzeit, it's behind the old city, you don't realize that there's about 50% that goes down the mountain here that you don't ever see. But it does exist. People are still able to be buried here. There's another new section that's opened up near Yechel Katan Nevi'im. So, mind you, it's much better to live here than to be buried, but that's another story. The neighborhood that we just came from was owned by a guy called Moshe Wittenberg. A little bit of history, doesn't hurt. Moshe Wittenberg, some of you for sure already heard that name, because Ariel Sharon, remember, he bought an apartment in Moshe Wittenberg's building inside the old city. And that's in the old Jewish quarter. So Moshe Wittenberg owned the land here and wanted to, and they're talking about the late 1800s, and all he wanted to do was to extend the cemetery. The Turkish government said no. He eventually sold it to Kollel Chabad in Berlin. Under the British, they tried to make a cemetery. The British said no, but they grew wheat here for matzah. Shmur matzah for the Jews of the old city for many years, until the pogroms came. 1948, what happened? Did we win or lose Yerushalayim? Is this an English-speaking group? Hello? Did we win or lose? Do we win or lose?
We lost.
Thank you. We lost Yerushalayim in 1948, at least this part of Yerushalayim, and became under the Jordanians. After 67, we find out about this old Jewish property owned by Moshe Wittenberg and the whole history. Half a dozen Arabs living there. To cut a long story short, against the odds, against Oslo, against the whole world, initially yeshiva students, and eventually approval was given to build 110 units. This put Irving Moscovich, a very, very special man, the equivalent of, in my mind, at least this generation, of the Rothschilds and Montefiore, very, very unique, special, to keep Yerushalayim in Jewish hands to this very day. His wife, Chernat Meir Ve'esrim, is still very much involved in many, many projects. העיקר זה לא להרוג.
אנחנו בירושלים, לא לפחד.
Question, sorry, you had a question? It's the two apartment buildings on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side was a very large gated area also where the police used to be, and you don't really need lots of approvals to renovate internally old offices. So the offices of the policemen of that compound was converted to very exclusive apartments, and there's another apartments being built. I think altogether there'll be another 100 apartments on the left-hand side of the road also, while it's finished. What about what? You're 2 minutes away from the old city. I mean, there's a little Gan Yeladim there, there's obviously a playground there. We're no longer involved at a practical level because people just ended up buying apartments there. No one from overseas was allowed to buy except the penthouses. I got one person as an exception for that on the condition that he would always rent out his apartment. In fact, there was a guy from Atlanta, Yishai Fleischer, for many years lived in this guy from Atlanta's home who had to have a place there no matter what. And the condition was that it had to be rented out. We didn't want another Kfar David. Kfar David? Mamila, whatever, Kfar David. That's empty the whole year and only on Chagim people come. No, we wanted the pitter patter of Jewish feet, and therefore people had to be living there the whole time. And that's the case, except for maybe one or two of the penthouses that are very flashy. So we've been driving 1.5 minutes from Yahrzeit. This is the way I used to drive to get home to Maleh Adumim. It's about a 5 or 6 minute drive from the old city to Maleh Adumim. Today it takes me 20 minutes to drive the other way. Why can't I drive this way? Forget the current war, before the war. Why can't I drive this way?
Massive wall.
Sorry? PA. No, it's actually still under Israel. It's actually area B and C. It's not A. You're going to see the answer in about 30 seconds. Yoni's already given the answer, but he's...
But he's cheating.
He's cheating.
I've been here before.
You're cheating.
Anyway, welcome to the Arab Kidmat Zion. As you can see from right in front of us, I can't keep on driving straight. There is a 9-meter high wall right in front of us. I can't keep on going. So we're in a... But what it is interesting, you can start to go through your mind, my God, Abu Dis is so close. 1.5 minute drive. Could you imagine if Barak had said, Raki Mina? How many times do I have to say Raki Mina?
How are we going to get home with that?
Sorry? We drive all the way right to Maleh Adumim. I go miles just to only turn right.
מה?
חבר של בנט.
חבר של בנט.
דווקא לא. לא, בסדר, סביר.
אולי בנט הישן.
Yes, we've arrived at Kidmat Zion. What was I saying?
That it's so close. Abu Dis is so close.
No, just, can you picture it? I mean, forget missiles that go maybe 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers, basic mortar and pop guns into every single town. Someone in Haranoff wouldn't make a difference. It's the way the crow flies, you're 1.5 kilometers away.
So Australian.
Oh, it's not American saying the way the crow flies? Or what birds do you have in America?
I mean, we have crows, but we don't. That's not a saying, is it?
The way the crows fly.
It is?
How's the crow fly?
Okay, sorry. But at least I'm paying attention.
Paying attention. Anyway, everyone, welcome to Kidmat Zion. We've just arrived.
That
wasn't so bad, was it?
We say as far as your Louis will fly.
It's a sort of it's a fork to the left, Daniel. Go to the left.
Okay, everyone look left. That's the Palestinian Parliament House. So he was promised, Arafat Yamach Shamoy was promised everything, including building here in Abu Dis, build your Palestinian Parliament House, you'll have the Holy Basin, you'll have the corridor, everything. Just start. But once he said no, then Barak says, you're saying no to this deal, I'm giving away part of you in Yerushalayim, get your flags out of Yerushalayim. In fact, where Beit Sara was, as you're going to see in about 30 seconds, there were Palestinian police cadets. They're already inside Yerushalayim. There were Palestinian flags, a cadet camp here. Today, Beit Sara, Jewish life, Jewish kids, 10 families, and the municipality has already accepted the area. There's now road signs for the municipality that says Kidmat Zion.
Daniel, that's new from when we came,
It's
right?
new since you've been here. Plus, even though there's only 10 families here, the municipality will manage to get them to invest a new road and a roundabout for a bus which is eventually going to come here. So that also exists. The only thing is though, I have to check with the driver. So that's the Palestinian Parliament House, very close to Beit Sara. בוא נמשיך. אתה צריך להחליט עכשיו. אם אתה רוצה... לא, תמשיך כאן לשנייה. If you've got really good eyes,
We might say Beit Sara.
right, that's what comes from. אנחנו יכולים ללכת ברגל מכאן.
No. We're not walking by right now.
It's no one here.
No.
Not because of the
He has to take us all the way.
אנשים מבוגרים.
כן, he has to take us
זה
all the
לא
way.
עניין של הביטחון.
אז אתה יכול, אבל כשאתה חוזר לכאן, אנחנו נרד, אתה מוריד אותנו שם.
We're not scared.
אבל אתה צריך לחזור לכאן ולעשות ככה. זה מאוד קשה.
לבוא לכאן,
כן.
אני לא אצליח בחיים.
זה מה
עוד עם
שחשבתי.
הסיני
אז בסדר, אז תחזור, יש לך זמן. תיסע בחזרה לכיכר, תחזור לקו, פשוט תמשיך כאן. בסדר, הבנת?
כן.
תחזור מאיפה שבאנו.
כן, ואז נו, אני בא מפה.
ואתה ממשיך מאחורי העצים, אתה רואה שם בית?
בית לבן.
בית לבן. קצת 50 מטר אחר כך יש שער כניסה. תחכה שם, או תמשיך עוד מקום שאתה יכול להסתובב. יש מקום יותר למטה שאתה יכול להסתובב ולחזור ותחכה שם.
נעצור שם.
אבל בינתיים, תן לו לעלות, אנחנו יהודים. תן לו לעבור.
No one's saying there's no craziness everywhere. There is craziness everywhere, but there's guidelines and restrictions.
אתה רוצה לדבר איתו?
Down in Tel Aviv, there are no guidelines and no restrictions in Jerusalem.
לא, בסדר, בסדר.
Yeah.
So do you see it? Can you see it? Your eyesight sees it?
Now that you said it for Beit Sara, I can see the words.
Yeah.
Just let me know so I can get the approval from the multi-cruise that I have coming as far as where to go.
Instead of going to the optometrist, I'll test your eyesight. Who can see what's written on the building in front of us? To your right, at this point, on your right-hand side, who can see what's written there? If you can see that, you don't need glasses.
I can't check with you before I get it. I gotta get the place, so just be prepared for if
So the municipality is widening this road in order for an Egged bus to finally come here for 10 families. Eventually there's going to be more here, but when we get out of Beit Sara, I will explain to everyone. Now you can see it here.
Can he stay to the left?
Oh, it's a new sign. It's a yofi. See?
That is beautiful.
Beautiful.
We'll come back here in a second. I wanted you to see this whole road. That's Beit Sara. We're coming here. We'll be on the... all this is being widened.
There?
All of this property to your left and to your right, all of it is going to be a Jewish neighborhood. From my perspective, or our perspective, it is probably the most important Jewish neighborhood that's going to be built in Yerushalayim, basically defining the eastern border of Yerushalayim with Jewish life. This neighborhood, it's going to be 300 units. Look, the government's already investing here. It's going to be a walkway, a tayelet here. I'm going to find donors that want to put panorama views and explanations of what people can see. This is a view, unless you've been here before, that none of you have ever seen. How do I know that? Usually when you look at the old city, Yahrzeit is the back of your view, right? But now for the first time, you are behind Yahrzeit looking back the other way. It's a totally new perspective. So once we go around this new roundabout, look at this. For 10 families, municipality, Toda Rabba Yerushalayim. Look at this. Kol hakavod. There's Beit Ha'achim. We've got one building in front of us now on your right-hand side. We added two prefab houses. We're done in 48 hours. Don't ask how or what, but 2 more families were just added here recently. Beit Ha'achim, which will have something a bit more formal after we go to Beit Sara. We'll be there very shortly, being set up now for all of you. Salat, salat. Everyone look at this view. Have you ever seen such a magnificent view? Look at this. Salat, salat, salat. On your left-hand side, you can see Nov Zion, Armon HaNetziv, Jabal Mukabel, the Tayelet where we just came from, Yar HaShalom, the Jewish side of Abu Tor, the Jewish side of Abu Tor, the Arab side of Abu Tor. You can see further to your right the Pinsker building, then the King Solomon, the top of the YMCA, the top of the plaza. Literally everything. Jewish, Arab, totally intertwined. We're going to get out so you'll be able to see and take great pictures. But let's get out of Beit Sara and you'll see a pasuk in Sefer Dvarim that you only see literally from here. Welcome everyone to Beit Sara. Mati Dan is greeting us here.
תשגע אותי. בסדר, רציתי לבוא היום, אבל הוא דחף לי נסיעה, אני באנשים, אני לא יכול.
רגע, תעצור שנייה.
היא לא צריכה לשגע אותי, שלא תתקשר אליי. דברי איתי יד, שלא תתקשר אליי. אמרתי לך, דיברתי איתך על זה.
No, we're getting off at Beit Sara, whatever.
תודה.
If it's wide, if he stops there.
גם את הכסף...
Everyone, welcome to...
Don't forget your phone.
Welcome to Beit Sara, Kidmat Zion. Let's come out and we'll carry on.
We're going to be here just for a little bit, and then we're going to go eat inside where there's air conditioning.
רק שאני אצליח לעלות את העלייה הזאת, אחי. מה? רק שאני אצליח לעלות את העלייה הזאת.
אנחנו נעזור לך בכל מה שצריך.
אגד מגיע, אתה מבין מה לעשות?
כן, אוטובוס של אגד עולה.
כן, כן, כן.
קם, בבי, קם.
אתה תעלה, זה לא... ואז בכיכר תחזור לכאן, אוקיי?
כמה זמן אתם שם למעלה?
שעה,
אבל תחזור לכאן. ותסתובב ותחכה שם למעלה.
בסדר, אין לי לאן ללכת, אל תדאג, אני לא...
הוא אמר שזה ים למשהו של ההבטחה שכל מי שהיה שם
Hi, how you doing? I saw your kid the other day. I think it was by Herzl. I think I met your daughter and son-in-law right before your Mazikah.
Hello. How are you?
Come, let's go.
יום הזעם.
Come. Sarah.
How you doing?
Everyone, please be careful. Walk on the road. It's very slippery, the stones.
רגע, אני אעשה בנג'י.
No, is net wel gauw dat iets is van de PA.
The view from Beit Sara, the other side of East Jerusalem, where there are Jewish homes, and you can see the city from here.
I'm not allowed. I'm
Another building.
I started opening my cup. I didn't think it would be large enough.
First, you didn't want to go on the bus, now you want to go on the up bus? You asked me the whole time, are we there yet? We're going to go to the house, special South Sarah house. Pretty cool, huh? She was the
I did a quarter. I did a quarter to it.
Who's this girl? What do you think?
Your mom seems to have given her.
Yes, we're going. We're walking. Do you know the man standing next to us is
Everybody come on down this way, please.
And Muna loves Hindi. Because of the one time she came over. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. And Aviva's here. Aviva's awesome. She's on TT's bestie.
Welcome everyone to Beit Sara. Last person, close the gate properly.
I'm not. I got Sharon. She's got my back.
I got it back,
Okay.
literally.
I am so proud of you for being such a big girl and so many cousins and that. It's your church. I am so proud of you for sitting with your big girl cousins. We are. Oh, Hashem, it's so good to see you.
I'm gonna grab the.
Beautiful fish.
Welcome to Beit Sara. Avishad is one of the two, the Ganut family, one of the two families that live here. We're going to be adding a third family underneath very shortly. To be the 11th family.
לא. לא? כאילו, פה ושם, חלק הבריזו וחלק באו, הצטרפו ממש דווקא.
Prefabs that were done there. So there's two there. There's 4 in Beit Achim where we're going to go in a second for a bite to eat. And we had a sukkah here every year. There's a, you know, heard of the Phallic family? Yeah, sure. So we have a very big function here. Every sukkah is with the Phallic family for all the Jashmut in the area. And Phallic. And we have a very big sukkah that's made for them. So one year we decided, well, if we've got a sukkah, why don't we just build?
Should have us wait at the.
He's waiting in Beit Achim.
Because his equipment's on there.
No, he's not leaving us. He's here.
No, he has to be at the building so he can take the equipment off the bus.
He knows to come back. So there was a big sukkah. We figured if we've got a sukkah, why don't we build inside the sukkah? You can't film this. You just can't film. Sorry.
You ever hear? No?
Nice,
right? Very nice.
And we moved the sukkah and that's
Everybody, come on up. We're not going to be in the sun for long. Just going to say a few words and meet the family.
Right, that's what everyone, hello. Everyone, very quickly, historically, before we walk on, before maybe Adina says a few words about Sara even here at Beit Sara. Okay, no worries. Just for you to be aware, between 1917 and 1923, there were 210 Jewish families who bought 598 dunams of land. That's 170 acres of land right here. They wanted to build a Jewish neighborhood, a garden neighborhood, in the heart of Yerushalayim. Look, you can see the back of Yahrzeit. You're on Yahrzeit. Why would you want to move to some place called Beit Sara, which is in the middle of nowhere? It's only because the city developed to the west that people moved that way. But this made sense. The neighborhood was never built. 70% of the property is today the village of Abu Dis. In fact, even the University of Al-Quds is built on some of that land. Some of you from America may know of a rabbi called Reb Shimon Eider, Zichrono Livracha, wrote a whole lot of books, halachas of this, halachas of that. Reb Shimon Eider. His father bought land in Abu Dis in the 1920s. His son called me a number of years ago and says, I've got paperwork, maybe can you help out? We checked it up. His plot of land is literally under the University of Al-Quds in the middle of Abu Dis. Do you have any idea what type of PR exercise that, even if you never got the land back, in courts, anyway, I rang him up one day and I said, listen, this is where it is. We can do a hell of a lot with this. All they were really interested in doing was maybe, is there any way that we could get some type of property instead in Rehavia, Talbia? I said, it doesn't work that way. You have to somehow get this back. It's a long exercise in the courts against the Minhal, against the Arabs, against the university. Anyway, that's a small little story about one little plot of land in Abu Dis. Of the 30% which is inside Yerushalayim, because that is the border of Yerushalayim more or less, of the 30% which is inside Yerushalayim, we hope to build this Jewish neighborhood of 300 to 350 units. It's been in the works for a number of years. Some people have already bought land here because they want to be part of what will unfold in some combination deal with a developer. You can imagine what type of political storm would come up. We're not talking about, God forbid, evicting or repossessing or any Arabs out. that the concept of Ateret Cohanim, or Jews building a neighborhood here, opposite Abu Dis, cancelling any possibility of dividing Yerushalayim, is a huge government decision. And I don't know whether at the moment we have the type of leadership to approve it, but at some point in time, it's going to be lodged at the District Building Commission, and someone is going to have to, God willing, approve it. We believe it will be approved, and look what this neighborhood will be looking back at. Harim Misavivla, from once again, Nov Zion, which is saved, thank God, not going to be bought by an Arab billionaire. Nov Zion, Jabu Mukabel, Armon HaNetziv, Arab side of Abu Tor, Jewish side of Abu Tor, middle of town, and you're looking at a pasuk in the Torah. Does anyone know what pasuk we're looking at by looking at that? Which tribe again got Yerushalayim? Mainly, it was in Binyamin's territory. He was the only one who didn't bow down to Esav. He was the one born in here. And although an arm of Yehuda definitely goes to Harabait. But we know the Beit HaMikdash was built, we're told in Sefer Dvarim, my house to you, Hashem says, will be like the head between the shoulders. The only place that you see the literal translation of that, everyone look back this way, imagine the Beit HaMikdash standing up much bigger than the temporary golden dome there. It was about 2 1/3 times higher than that, like the head between the shoulders. Ubenk tefav shachen. Le binyamin, le song, le binyamin, le binyamin. Le song? So that is, they must have seen that, I figure, in the 20s. That this is Hashem's house between the shoulders. The right-hand shoulder of Yahrzeit, the left-hand shoulder, it's got different names. It's the same mountain range. It's also referred to as Har HaMashchit or Mishcha, anointing or destruction. One day the Mashiach's meant to stand up there. There's meant to be an earthquake. The enemies will fall. Water will flow. My house in Ma'ale Adumim goes up in value because I'll be able to see straight through the Harabait. There's many things that are meant to happen in the days to come, but that is the view. That's the story of Kidmat Zion. I'm sure some of you saw the plaque that we have. It's not a new plaque. We've had that since the very beginning. Avishag has been there. She's the first pioneering family that has been here since 2004. Holding on, literally, with her triplets and the other 9 families here until we get permission to build this beautiful neighborhood called Kidmat Zion, for obvious reasons, east of Zion. So, question, yes?
Yes. Can you say something about the people who move into these properties that you're reclaiming, and is it hard for you to get people to populate the areas? Is it a serious
question or it's a joke?
No, it's a serious question.
No,
I want to know.
There's no shortage of families moving in. The issue today, if the Jerusalem cake is made up of 3 ingredients, the Arab selling, the Jews to move in, and the Jew to buy, or the Jew to buy and the Jew to move in. There's no shortage of Arab selling. No, we have lists of people to move in at a drop of a hat. When we moved into the Yemenite village, it was so hostile. It was, I thought I was in a Hollywood movie. It was so unreal to me what was going on that night that we moved in. Within 48 hours, we took out the families who were there at the police request and just had young couples with no family. Today, we're 16 years later, and Baruch Hashem, there's no TVs, and there's over 100 kids in the neighbourhood. It's phenomenal. So, but there was no shortage of families ready to move in whenever we needed to move in. The same here. We have families ready to go anywhere, anytime. It's not free. If families pay rent, it's not Rechavia rent. They're paying $5 or $6 a square metre. So the investors who own it, that's something else important to know. Ateret Cohanim doesn't buy these places. We obviously need donations for playgrounds and nurseries and maybe some security things. But the acquisitions, Yankel from New Jersey and Avram from Melbourne, whatever it is, they own these places. They're not becoming rich from the rent today. But it's something real in their hands. So there's no shortage of families to move in. They're all modern Orthodox, religious. There are 1 or 2 families in the old city that you'd call maybe, I don't like the boxes, but that you would call maybe Haredi. But otherwise, even in Ma'ale HaZeitim, the far majority are what you'd call the modern Orthodox. And that doesn't mean to say there aren't secular, strong ideological people, but the reality is those who are moving to these neighborhoods are all a certain type of families that live there. And yeah.
I want Yoni to give to say a little bit about the night that they got Beit Sara, because he was here and I wasn't, and in the middle of the night, it was called. I'll just let you take that story, because I think it's really cool and interesting. Also, Avishag and her family lived here for they were the first people to move in. They moved here for many years, and they only many years later were blessed to have children and to have their triplets and bring them into the world. And I've been in touch with them, not really directly, but through Daniel. I like to on Shavuot send them flowers or cheesecake or whatever. And she has a beautiful album that maybe she'll let us pass around and see. She has a beautiful album about the acquisition, about the moving in, about the the mezuzah. Mati will tell you also more about it later, but anyway, it's a very interesting story. Yoni will tell you. We're not going to stand out here for too long. Mostly, we're going to just talk for a few minutes, I think, to hear about Beit Sara. Then we'll go in air conditioning and talk about Sara.
I'll keep it pretty brief because I can't compete with the view. Yeah, it was a really cool night. I wore this hat. I was telling Daniel that I wore this hat today because these were the hats that they gave out. We started off in Maleh Zeitim, as Daniel said. It was like the staging area, and everyone gathered all the materials that we needed to get over here. And everyone was given these hats for identification purposes, so that, God forbid, if there was like someone from the houses down below that wanted to come up, they wouldn't have one of these yellow hats, and we'd be able to know the difference between who belongs here and who doesn't. And what we did was we took fences. Now we've got like these permanent fences over here, but it was like basically barbed wire fences, and we had mallets, and we just came up here like it was a massive operation. It was the middle of the night, and we left Maleh Zeitim, and we came over here, and we started like pounding in stakes to put up a fence. We put up a fence around the whole area. We put up a mezuzah here on Beit Sara. It was really nice. I remember actually this plaque that's on the side over here. We had to move it because it was fading in the sun. We had to replace the picture because the sun was just too strong over here. But I remember choosing the psukim to put on there. And just coming back here, it's very cool to see that it wasn't just like this flash in the pan kind of a one night thing. It's a permanent thing, and it's really nice to see that. So I'm indebted to Avishag and her family for living here, and thank you all for coming here also. This is really fantastic.
Beautiful. So the building was here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to be careful what we say because it's being filmed. But the building is here. It will stay even when the project is to be built. 2 of the buildings will stay. The temporary houses they're going to go, including the sukkah houses. But this one in Beit Ha'achim will stay. It's part of the overall project that will go down into the valley a little bit. And all of this, obviously, the person behind all of this, who started the organisation, is Mati Dan, who doesn't like to say much, but he is sitting here on the side. He doesn't want to speak now.
Rebecca, take a picture.
Like, the head of the Mossad. The head of the Mossad at some point, there was a talk, you see that? The Prime Minister spoke, the Minister of Defence, and then the head of the Mossad, whatever, spoke. He says, I don't like speaking, I like acting.
No one's happier to be here today than Tara. I just want you all to know
that. So let's go together. We're going to. I know that you're comfortable over there, but you're going to have to get up. No questions. Does anyone want to buy an apartment here in the future project or something?
You have to have triplets to buy?
Sorry?
You have to have triplets, quadruplets, anything to buy?
No, the families here who moved in haven't bought.
Okay.
Everyone here just rents. The people who own, I don't think there's one person who actually owns any of our places that actually live there. No, they're all to minimise the Arabs at the side.
But as you were building, was there a lot of friction?
No, because no one knew who's doing what. Could be an Arab for an Arab. Big deal. But so the nighttime moves in is an interesting discussion we have even within the Amutah. You know, should we going like this in the middle of the day, nothing to be scared of and nothing to be ashamed of? Or do you do it night time where there's maybe a little bit less possible friction with Arabs? They're suddenly surprised Jews are moving in and there's nothing to do. During the day there's possibility, and it's usually a security decision. And most of our moves into places, the Yemenite village a month ago, we moved in, also done at night time. They got the shock of their lives. There's suddenly 100 workers, yeshiva students and families moving into 2 buildings, had no idea what was going on at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was easy, it was safe. Anyway, let's all go to walk together. You're in the sun, no bit in the sun. Let's walk up. It's a little bit of a walk, no big deal, but we're going to Beit Ha'achim. Let's follow me up and around. Come. Welcome, everyone.
Wait, so were you with Daniel? The bus is there?
Sorry?
The bus is there?
I was talking. I didn't see if he physically drove back. I hope so.
He needs to be there.
Okay.
He needs his equipment.
I'll give him a call.
הולכים עכשיו לבניין, האוטובוס מחכה. לא, אנחנו פה
You remember where we were going? Yeah, he told me. And he was להתלבט whether to stay or not.
Listen, you girls are still eating your popsicles.
Okay, wait.
And you don't call.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, here, I'll send you a picture for
Hello.
Everyone,
move over there. Why wearing your blue picture in front of Beit Sara?
Join us for a picture.
Everyone, family in front, friends behind.
Sorry about that before, just that there's issues with
Daniel, where exactly is Beit Sara? I was just telling you.
Everybody get in, let's go, everybody get in. Like in Canadian, keep up. How big?
Everybody, is everyone there? Okay, Danielle.
Yeah, I'm coming in. I'm coming in.
Everybody in.
Rebecca, tell everybody what to do. Yeah. Get in, get in, get in.
Okay, if everybody in the
If you want to roll, yeah, you could sit. Do you want the chairs in the middle?
I can get down.
Right here.
Left shoulder here, right shoulder.
MJ, get in.
Okay, 2 meters.
Wait for MJ. I saw.
You got a wide enough lens for all this?
I wanted to hear about Sheikh Jara.
I gotta
Shimon
Okay, guys, anyone want to sit? That would be great. Aviva and Tara. Yeah, just so I can see the back row. Okay, and can you guys come in? Everyone's nice. It's okay to get close. We'll make sure nothing happens.
No sneezing on anyone.
Okay, we got Daniel's ice cream, and that's good. Hold on, stay right there. Beautiful. Very good. Stay. And now we're talking. One. The quiet's also nice. Beautiful. One more. 1, 2, 3. Last one. No, Dan, you can't do that. We got to get a few. Someone might have closed their eyes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Don't lead the way, lead the way.
Yeah. Everybody this way.
Sarah's that done?
Yoni, I'm with you.
Classic tour guide move. Yeah. Follow me, and then I don't know where I'm going.
Sounds, confident in the world.
That is something I learned from my mother.
Okay, see?
If you say whatever you want to say with
That's
confidence,
right.
then people will
follow.
think you're right.
Mamash kacha.
Mamash here from here it is. Ben Ktef Shachain.
I just can't believe
It's the coolest thing.
Yeah. The pasuk only makes sense from this vantage point.
That's it.
Why is the world...
What did you say, Sharon?
How do they have their groceries delivered?
I'm not complaining if it's fake.
the most disgusting thing.
Really? Doctors.
I had with Sister Valentina, like this whole, like, you know, had it out
Mm-hmm.
with her and she asked me on this house. Like, yes, I have one.
Why are we going this way?
And I'm like, don't you read your Bible?
Oh,
Don't you read your Bible? Well, it's not a bad word.
In that house?
Yeah, in that house.
Even people who aren't vaccinated?
Yeah, we're not going to check out.
I don't think there's anyone here.
I was actually contemplating to see. I switched jobs at work. I used to do case management, working with the insurance company. I worked for one nursing home and I worked paid directly by them. The owners of they own 30 nursing homes. So they actually own a company that does case management. So instead of having an employee, they have their company do it. Have better systems, whatever. So they switched me over to corporate compliance. Reading hard. I'm not an attention to detail kind of person. Like, I see the big picture, you know? And now here I am, like, staring, like, really, reading medical records. It was a great team. But I also was like, I was happy with this. It gave me a job because in the middle of Corona, to be out of work.
That me and you went and we did your video thing.
Oh, I remember that. That was fun, right?
Yeah.
No, there's a car. There's even a car in the park.
The difference is I now work from
Famous security fence. Sign of weakness?
Oh, I don't know what to do with that. How about just hold it away from your body for a minute? And then we'll throw it out, okay? Dus volgen? Weet je dat weer? Huh? There should be when we get inside and we're almost inside.
Hier met iemand die zo.
I said when we go inside.
Do I need your name right on the house?
Oh, you go inside. Everyone else on your phone?
The right way and everything.
Also from the middle of the house, you can come in here also.
Oh.
That's also I gave her a water bottle. Here, they have a cup. What? I have a water.
Yeah, this is Sarah.
I don't know. I told Daniel to take him to get the stuff.
Dina, is there air conditioning or open windows? Oh, that's it. Where'd he go?
I don't think it's being shown on that. Hungry right now.
I could hook up my laptop to that. No problem.
Okay.
Unless you want bigger. If you want bigger, I can put up my screen.
I don't care.
That would be brighter.
Like you're asking me too many questions that I don't want to have to answer. Like just make a decision. I
Maybe
don't
do
care.
this. It's not a ton of people, and it'll be brighter than the screen.
I just need you to make a decision.
Okay. But I just need my
I
equipment.
just need you to make a decision. I don't want to make any decision. Okay? Thank you. You know what I'm saying? My brain's just.
I do need the bus. Without the bus, I can't do anything.
What's his name is there. Daniel's standing right by the entrance of the room. Chaim.
Hola, Kavod, Sarah. You're helping or you're making yourself food?
Making herself something.
Hola, Kavod.
What does she have to help?
Oh, she's a big girl. Hola, Kavod. Girls, that was a big hike. Before you eat, come drink. And then we'll make you food. First you can eat. Just come drink first. I have everyone's waters. Sarah? Sarah? Oh, I'm sorry. Sarah? Who's Tina? Emuna found me. Ricky and I were on the slower side of the walking.
She's got little legs.
Emuna washed her hands after her.
We missed so proud of you.
Yeah, this actually was one house of Beit. Beit Sara was built.
Do you drink? Yeah. Emuna, you drink? Yeah. We'll get a plate.
Yeah.
We'll get a plate.
Originally,
Whatever you want. Sit down, Tima. I am so proud of you. Sarah, get a veggie. Over here.
I don't know if I'm wrong.
Okay, so eat some bagel first.
They built like one or two floors, I forget how many it was, but there was nothing on the roof. So for a while, this was just open.
Somewhere? Oh, here, I found that there.
I didn't. It was half cut.
That's how she rolls.
Come on, there's real napkins. It didn't happen yet.
Oh, I thought you said you got.
Emuna, where is your sunglasses box? Emuna, where's your sunglasses box? Well, I'd rather you put down the popsicle and have some food soon, okay? Some real food.
Emunu, you need help? Come here. Come here, Emunu. Let me do it for you. Right? What else do you want to click? Doing a good job. Both sides are on dented, so it's not like alcohol.
Right.
Should I close the sandwich?
I know, I got them from
This. Headphone. Love you. Give me a kiss.
Yeah.
What's in your bagel? A distance. High five. Do you have room on your plate?
Mom raiding bagels 2 days before the wedding or so?
3 days?
Raiding day of the wedding.
Raiding bagels. But you walked in them, so it's okay.
Exactly.
How was the big deal? You guys are okay?
As long as we make sure to drink water, then we are good.
I didn't even put on my dress yet.
I can't gain that much weight.
And if you gain the weight, you lie in the bed and someone else pulls it up. תשמרי לי רגע, אני באה.
כן, כן. You had to ask me I was still there.
No big deal. You lie in the bed and, you know, Maximus, but not Maximus. You sit down, watch life.
White.
Oh, untraditional for a mark.
More like your daughter.
Simona, my love. Can you pass me a plate, please?
A big one or small?
It's closed and you
Take a big one. Salad deserves a big plate, right? Absolutely. That was my intention.
Yes.
Switch sides with you.
What side?
I was so happy that you guys walked over yesterday. So nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Oh, it's crazy that I don't think I've seen like 17.
Well, Corona.
Right.
I know. Corona.
At least he comes to fry.
It's so funny, like after Daniela had the baby, it was like when people were starting to like finally get vaccinated, we were like seeing people again, you know? And everyone kept coming like, oh, Mazaltov. And I was like, thanks, she's so cute. And they were like, don't know what you're talking about. I know you got engaged. And I was like, right, old news, sorry. I'm much more excited about the baby right now.
Dating my friend for a year. That looks so good.
Salad looks so good. What?
Then if it's that person,
Could eat around it.
no, parsley is the one thing I can't eat around. Everything else I can eat around.
You can eat around the olives, but not parsley.
I like olives. And I can eat around onion, I can eat around garlic, but parsley tastes too infectious.
Don't mind me.
I don't know if there's an official.
Like eat your extra time with Aviata.
We just took the word for that. Okay, 2, Sarah, 3, Emma, 4, Rifki, cheese. I can't see your smile. It's full of
זאת הבת
popsicle.
שלי הקטנה
Can I make you a bagel?
שנקראת שרה. עתידן זה עטרת כהנים. הקטנה שלי, הבייבי שלי.
אנחנו מתחילים. Then she calls it her baby. It reminds me of I like these like applesauce snacks. My mother was in America and she bought it for me. And she goes to the kupa and they go, "It's my daughter." And she's like, "Oh, coming." And she's like 18. It's like it looks like baby food, but it's yummy. I'm like, "Oh, you can tell that." Like, I used to go to the kupa eat that. And your 18-year-old daughter likes to snack on applesauce. You know, it's like no one needs to know your whole family story. Just you're going to the supermarket.
Some people like pork bagels. Saba loves Rifki, let's go wash your hands so we can eat a bagel, okay? Your popsicle's all done, and it's all melted. Let's go put it in the garbage. But it's all done.
אוכלי, עשית בשכל. מה עשית?
Smile to Rebecca. It's Matan Safta. It's so awesome. Yummy.
אני באה לשם.
I don't know.
לא, לא. אני הזמנתי לו מונית.
היה פרמיה.
All done.
Photo op.
It's all melted. You're going to poke yourself here. Let me help you get the last bite. Stop. Stop. Last bite. It's all melted, and then we need brown forward.
I'm going to get her a bagel.
Can you wash her?
Yeah. Come, Rifki, let's go to the sink and I'll rinse you off, okay? Come.
Jeffrey, come take a picture with your kid.
Jeffrey? Let your first
You guys have so many cousins. You're so lucky. And Moshe's the funniest.
I'm the
When
funniest.
you were a baby, Sarah, you loved him so much.
Today she loves me also so much.
Also today you love him so much. Did your mama too? You're all clean?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Yeah, over here. Look, there's a whole table of food.
Okay.
Everyone's eating lunch.
Jeffrey.
What do you want? Cream cheese? Cream cheese? I'll give you cream cheese, my darling. Okay?
מתחילים?
Use your words. Use your words. Please, you're not going to have a bagel with cream cheese. Okay? Please.
We're just waiting for the live stream video set up. We'll be on our way. Everyone has something nice to cold to drink. MJ is not drinking anything. Simcha, you're not drinking? Oh, you're eating.
Hold out the microphone.
I'm going to call your name back to see you're not eating. Good passion. It's so good to see you. You're so cool.
Can you put this one? Yeah,
Deborah. Deborah.
You're on. One of Grandpa's.
Okay, everybody. So thank you so much. As large a font as I use to print, it's just not enough. So, sorry. I actually want to start without my glasses. I want to start because we're a pretty small and intimate crowd, so it's important enough for me to just really appreciate every single person that's here. And some of you knew my mom, and some of you didn't. Some of you know us as a family, and some of you don't. My wonderful dear friend Sarah, who came, who doesn't know my family or my mother, but she's a very special spiritual person. My kids will know her as my Resla friend.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
From
From Usala. Thank
From
you. Yeah. So she's amazing that she came here today. My 6 beautiful children that are the nachat of me and their father and of my mother, and it's so. Well, what would I do if they weren't with me all the time? My beautiful Liora, our cousin, Rivka and Ilan, who are neighbors from Efrat and just wanted to join, just felt like they wanted to be here and join, which is so beautiful and special. I'm going to start the list of Giborei Yisrael that are in this room, starting with Sharon Katz. She's Maze Giborei Yisrael. She's Maze, a very close friend of our family. Sharon was part of the women of Efrat from way back when, who settled the hills of the Dagan and the Tamar and maybe even the Zayit, for all I know, and the Eitam. And Sharon founded Raise Your Spirits Productions, which was in response to the Intifada and the murder of my mother and Esther Awan, among others, who were killed during those years of Intifada. She felt that the community, and most especially the women and children, because that's what she does best, needed their spirits raised, raise your spirits. And she started a production company, and she does productions made women, for women, and by women until Corona, which is an incredible, how do you say, Yuzma? Initiative, and does so much more for our community than I'm sure she does know, but she does so much for our community and so many other things of chesed. Like when I say Giborei Yisrael, trust me, she really is, and she's a special person in our life. Sherry and Ira, my cousin, Deborah, my cousin, Shmuel, my cousin, they were, like, all of my cousins were only second for my mother, were only second to her children. She loved them, she helped raise them, they were part of each other's lives on a very much daily basis. And their pain is my pain, and my pain is their pain. And so, like, how could they not be here today? And by the way, it's one of the reasons that this idea happened is because I found out by accident that they never came to Beit Sara, they never saw Beit Sara. And I said, how could our families not see it? And so I opened it up for our non-family members also. We have Kalman, who is a...
Michael, Kalman's father.
Oh, sorry. Michael, sorry. Who is...
Son of, then we were ourselves now.
Sorry. Who is...
Abu Kalman.
Abu Kalman is what I meant to say. And he's related from my mother's side. He's related from my mother's father's family. I'm not exactly sure how, but it doesn't matter. And always comes to my mother's Askara every year. And it's very touching and very beautiful and really special that you're here also today. And Yossi Baumel, Gibor Yisrael, here we go. Yossi Baumel, who's now, where are you in Makor Baruch? Makor Chaim. But when we knew him, he was from Ateret Cohanim. He was very close with my mother and with Norman, a good friend and colleague. Oh my gosh, Yossi, you brought Rabbi Viner to sleep in my house, do you remember? For that Shabbos of the dinner. So I'm still traumatized.
What he said about your chandelier.
I know, he said my chandelier belongs in the jungles of Africa. But he gave my children a book that he for my kids, and Yossi had, like, poor Yossi had to call me the day after Rabbi Viner flew back to Israel to say, don't ask, but Rabbi Viner wants to know if you found his pencil. Because he doesn't want to buy
another one until he knows for sure that it's lost. Okay, so that was traumatic, but very, very big schos. And Yossi was a very, very good friend of my mom's, and also worked tirelessly for Ateret Cohanim, and good friend of the families, and it's so meaningful that you're here. Yehudis and Shimon Leiter are just wonderful people. They're my clients, but they're my friends, and they're just people with a neshama and a Zionism, and they love and support anything that has to do with Torah and Eretz Yisrael. And it's so touching to me that you're here today. Very, very, very touching to me that you're here today. Really. Atara and Sharon. Really. And back there in the corner trying to hide, but she cannot hide, is the ninja herself, Yonit. She's an unbelievable, incredible tour guide and photographer. We're colleagues. We work together. We're friends. I am inspired by her and admire her, and I'm totally touched and honored that she's here today. And my husband, Avi, another Gibor Yisrael, when we said that there was security on the bus, it's only because he agreed to come, and it wouldn't be the same without him here today. Next on the list of Gibor Yisrael, oh, she got up. No, you're there, is MJ. MJ is a Gibor Yisrael. MJ is a what'd you say, Yuzma? Initiative. She's an initiator. She's an advocate. She's an amazing connector, fundraiser, doer, achiever. She's a part of the building of Eretz Yisrael. She touched me the second that I met her. She touched my heart and soul. And most of us are enjoying the things that we enjoy here in Eretz Yisrael today because of her initiatives and her hard work. Today she was interviewed, this morning on the bus on the way here, she was interviewed by WABC TV News in New York, talking about this very day and this very event, and always bringing new chasifut. Why can't I speak English? Exposure and for the most important and the right people and the best people to know about what people need to know about that's going on here. Simcha Hachbam is the next Gibor Yisrael. Simcha Hachbam lives in the old city of Hebron and brings people to Hebron, brings money to Hebron, brings life to Hebron. He knew my mother personally, and she loved you. Yeah, like she really always loved you and talked about you, and it's so, when you told me that you were coming today, I was like so touched. Thank you so much. And my good friend Lara, who never forgets when is the right time to text me and to talk to me and to call me and to send me love and support at every important moment in my life. She's a tzadikah, mamash tzadikah. In case anybody didn't know, it's all hidden. Norman and Kathy, of course, wouldn't be the same if you weren't here today. Jeffrey and Haley, just like I told Jeffrey that, like, what a ridiculous thought that you wouldn't be here today. Of course you had to be here today. Whatever you had to do to get here today, you should have done it before today. So thank God you're here today. And that had to happen. And Haley is like, just really, I just like tip my hat off to you and tell you how touching and beautiful and special it is that you called me and asked me if it was appropriate if you can come. And I said, whoa, appropriate. It's touching and beautiful and special and meaningful. And there are not a lot of special people like you. So thank you for being part of my children's lives and for being that person. Who else? Okay, Aviada, Viva, whatever. My lifeline, my emergency contact, everything that I am today is basically standing right over there. Daniel, you all met, and of course my brother and sister-in-law Daniela and their 3 beautiful children, who we couldn't do this without them either. Every single presence here is adding so much and is incredibly meaningful. Okay. I saw a quote, but I forgot whose quote it was, so I'm not going to credit them, but it's not mine. When we lose someone, we don't miss the big moments. We miss all the little, everyday things about them. 20 years have passed today. And my mom has missed Yoni's aliyah, my aliyah, Sammy's wedding, the births of Sammy's kids, Yoni's wedding, the births of Yoni's kids, Atara's high school graduation, Atara and Shirut Lumi, Atara's university graduation, the births of my Moshe and my Sarah Esther, my divorce, my remarriage, Daniela's wedding. In a few days, she's going to Mr. Dana's wedding. The birth of my business, the birth of my granddaughter, every single bar and bat mitzvah of all of my children. She's missed countless weddings, smachot, and births, and milestones of her nieces and nephews. She also missed every birthday party, every giyus, every time I had a scare and had to take my kids to the doctor. Every time I had a hard day, every time I needed someone to watch my kids or pick up my kids. Every time I wasn't sure how to get out of Spain. Every time I couldn't remember a recipe. Every time I didn't want to go to a school meeting alone. Every time I stood in the supermarket staring at the damn shelf wondering which vinegar to buy. Every time I couldn't remember a detail of a story, of a family detail. Every time there's a missing piece to a memory of the past. We really wish she could have met Sherry, Daniela, Sharon, and Avi. Atara has lived for more years without her than she did with her. I wonder what she'd be like on Facebook or WhatsApp. Would she be super active and outspoken, or would she be a stalker from afar? Would she use lots of emojis and slang, or would she insist on proper English? Would she answer her grandchildren and great-grandchildren in Hebrew or insist on English? Would she be at every demonstration vocalizing what she believed in? Would she go to every Shiva call for every terror victim? Would she cry if she saw the state of our country today like she cried when she watched the signing of the Oslo Accords on TV? We just can wonder. I like to think that she'd be a very active and involved part of our lives. I like to think she'd be at our side at our births and welcoming us home, ready to take care of us. I like to think she'd add a lot of fun and humor to our meals and our WhatsApp groups and conversations. I like to think she'd be at all the graduations, the Hanukkah parties, and the Siddur plays. I like to think she'd spend quality time with each grandkid, hanging out in their home, babysitting for them, or going out for breakfast. I like to think she'd be teaching them and influencing them about all the things she loved and that were important to her, like about our land and our country, our nation, our Torah, like about the color purple, a good New York deli, her favorite flavor ice cream, pistachio, the importance of family being close and strong and loyal, about being open and accepting to all kinds of people, to be an example to them by welcoming them into their home, showing them what it means to be a good person and a good Jew. She would teach them not to judge people, not to talk Lashon Hara, and to give extra compliments even when not asked. I think she would still be in touch with all of her dearest friends, the ones from a lifetime ago and the more recent ones. I think she'd be involved in community projects that involve chesed and tzedakah and Torah. After 20 years, I would have thought I would get used to missing those moments and no longer yearn for her presence. But it's not true. We still yearn for her, and we miss her, and we wish she was here. And 20 years is a really long time to miss someone so much. So Beit Sara is a real memorialization and an honor to my mother's life and to the reason for her death. Beit Sara is a symbol of vibrant Jewish life despite our enemies' wish to erase Jewish life. Beit Sara is a symbol for our nation to always remember the victims who gave their lives for our country and our nation. Beit Sara is a symbol that we don't give up, we don't run and hide, and we don't let them win. Beit Sara is a symbol we're not bloodthirsty for revenge. We don't want a life for a life. Beit Sara is a symbol that our best revenge is to build, to flourish, to multiply, to continue our goal, to live in the Jewish land as a Jewish nation. It is an incredible honor to have this important and huge symbol carrying her name. It's an honor to have Ateret Cohanim recognize and remember her, who she was, what she did, and that others remember it as well. After 20 years, we know how important it is to keep the memories alive, the yearning alive, the meaning alive, and the message alive. And really, thank you very much so much for coming. Thank you. Mati? Yes? No, yes. Do you need more time? No. Oh. Okay, not Mati. Yoni.
Okay, so I'm not going to speak anywhere as nearly as eloquently as Dina did, mostly because I don't have anything printed. What?
You already used the word eloquent.
Alright, so I just stop all my head. Yeah, so I was thinking this morning about the idea of it being 20 years since my mother's murder. I remember so much, like I was telling you before about how I remember the night that we came up here. I certainly remember the day that I heard about what had happened to my mother. I remember very, very clearly being in Adina's house. And I remember a lot of the stupid things that people said to me. meaning nice. They meant well. But when people are trying to comfort other people, sometimes they say stupid things. And one of the stupid things that people told me was, you know, you'll get over it, or you'll be okay. I have not gotten over it, and I don't expect to. And after 20 years, I can comfortably say I don't want to get over it. I think that this is, it's become a part of who I am. It doesn't define me in its entirety. I'm not just the son of a murdered woman, but it is definitely a part of me. It's something that I take with me, and it's not a burden. It's something that just is, and I'm happy that there are things like Beit Sara, because it's a way for me to deal with it in a really constructive way. Like Adina said, we're not bloodthirsty. We're not going out for revenge. Someone once asked me, like, you know, what would you do if you had the guy who shot your mother, like if you were in a closed room with him? And like, yeah, theoretically, of course, I would definitely do what I had to do, but that's not justice, and that's not going to change anything. Justice is harsher than that. Justice would be me tracking down his mother and shooting me. But that wouldn't change anything. That's not what I want. Obviously, what I want is my mother. Daniela was just saying the other day. She was just saying the other day how she had a vision. It's just like a daydream kind of vision of my girls running to my mother. She never met my mother, but she had a vision of the girls running to my mother, with my mother with her arms open. That's what I want. I want her to be, like Adina said, at all the family functions, but more than that, I want her to be the mother that is so, it's not a big word, ubiquitous, so there, constantly, that it's annoying already. Like, go home, let us raise our kids. What? It's just, so it's been 20 years, but it's still raw in a lot of respects. It takes me by surprise more often than I would think. Just this sense of she's not here. You would think that I would get used to that she's not here, but it hits me every now and then. It's been pretty hard. But like I said, things like Beit Sara are a really wonderful way to just have me, it really helps me get through it. Obviously my wife and obviously my children help me the most, but there are ways that I can not move on, but I can continue with the pain and with the loss. I can continue with it and still be a constructive, productive member of society. I hope. So I'm gonna, basically I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep on doing that and keep on going with the pain, with the loss, in as best a way as I can. But always still missing her. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. What I want to introduce Mati Dan. I give tours of various places around the country, but most often I give tours in Yerushalayim. And whenever I'm in the old city, it's rare that I'll give a tour without mentioning some stories about Mati Dan, about how he happened upon some property in the Muslim quarter, sorry, not the old Jewish quarter. In the old, I gotta get my terminology right. How he just happens upon properties, like, you know, my favorite one was Beit Salam. I was just telling Yonit about Beit Salam, how he needed to make a phone call to get pictures from a photographer from an Ateret Cohanim event. He misdialed the number, happened to get the number of some Arab guy who owned a house there. And when the guy answered, he says, "What do you want?" Mati's like, "Oh, I want to buy your house." And like without missing a beat, like of course, it's not a wrong number, I want to buy a house. And that ended up happening. He actually ended up buying that house, which they named Beit Sara, because if the photographer had been on time, they never would have found that house. But he's just, he's an amazing guy. And just to tie it into, we're talking about my mother, there was, when I was in yeshiva, and I was in yeshiva at Kotel, Mati invited me for Rosh Hashanah, I believe it was. נכון? אני באתי לבית שלך לראש השנה. זה היה לפני יותר מספר. לא יודע. Anyways, I believe it was Rosh Hashanah, and Rav Bina, who was the head of the program, he was like, absolutely not. No, none of the students are leaving for Rosh Hashanah. Doesn't make a difference. Like, I don't care like what you're doing. Like, if you have to go to family or whatever, you're not allowed to go. And I said to him, but my mother told me it's really important that I go to Mati Dan's house. And Rav Bina said, Mati Dan? Absolutely. Like, not only are you going to go, but you're going to go to a store and you're going to get a bottle of wine, and it's going to be a nice bottle of wine, and you're going to make sure that you go there and you're going to have a good time. And if it's Mati Dan's house, of course you're going. So the kesher of my family with Mati Dan is. Kesher is a strong one. It's a nice, strong relationship, and so I'm really happy that he's here. So please, Mati, come up and say a few words.
עברית, בסדר. One single person here. Oh, MJ. שמחה translate for
אני נורא מצטער האמת היא שמאוד קשה לי באירועים כאלה לדבר. הזיכרון של הפיגוע ושל הרצח של שרה, זה עדיין, כשאנחנו מזכירים אותה ואנחנו זוכרים את היום הזה, אז זה לא יום קל בשבילי, ולכן קשה לי, משתדל אבל, בעילוי נשמתה. קודם כל, אני חייב לשתף אתכם, אצלנו בבית, הרבה שנים ישבנו על הספות שלכם. הזיכרון, אצלנו בסלון, אני לא יודע מתי, באיזה, אבל אתיה הייתה מאוד קשורה לאמא שלך, לשרה. היא נתנה לה כשהם, יושב, עם הספות האלה היא עלתה מארצות הברית. אז אנחנו הרבה שנים, היה לנו קשה, גם אחרי הרבה שנים שזה כבר נשחק וזה, היה קשה לנו להיפרד מהריאות, שהרגשנו ככה איזה חיבור, המשך הקשר איתה, ולי באופן אישי אני זוכר את שרה במשרד בניו יורק, את הטוב לב שלה, את הרוגע שלה, את הביטחון שלה, וזה היה לי כל כך קשה שהיא עולה לארץ ופתאום השם לוקח אותה מאיתנו. קשה לי היה מאוד, מאוד קשה. ולכן ניסינו בכל דרך אפשרית להנציח אותה במה שהיא כל כך האמינה, ביישוב ירושלים. ואני חושב שאיתנו כל הזמן. מה שאנחנו יושבים פה עכשיו, להזכיר אותה, אני בטוח שאיתנו, אבל זה בכלל לא פשוט שאנחנו יושבים פה. בגלל שהמקום הזה, מה שנקרא היום קדמת ציון, עבר הרבה טרגדיות. הרבה מאוד. ואנחנו עכשיו נכנסנו לתקופה חדשה, אף אחד מאיתנו לא יודע מה אנחנו הולכים לעבור. אנחנו מאמינים אבל באמונה שלמה, כמו שאנחנו רואים כל פעם בברכות של ההפטרה, ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם. כל ההבטחות של הנביאים התקיימו. אבל איך בדיוק, עם איזה קושי, אנחנו לא יודעים. מה שקורה היום, אף אחד עוד לא כתב את הסטורי בורד של התקופה החדשה, אבל המקום הזה ספציפית ספוג במאורעות של 36 ו-39. היה המרד הערבי הגדול, ויהודים קנו כאן, בטח שמעתם מדניאל, קנו פה שטחים מאוד גדולים, 700 דונם, להקים פה יישוב, לצאת מתוך הצפיפות של העיר העתיקה בירושלים. ויש סיפור שצריכים אולי לתרגם אותו לאנגלית. יש בבית הכרם, לא יודע אם אנשים מכירים את בית הכרם, אבל יש רחוב שנקרא אבי זוהר. רחוב אבי זוהר, רחוב מאוד מרכזי בבית הכרם. הוא אחד האנשים שהוביל את היוזמה להקים פה שכונה יהודית, ואחרי הרבה שנים מישהו כתב את הסיפור שהוא הולך עם איזו ילדה בבית הכרם ומספר לה את התוכניות שלהם לגור כאן. ולמה לגור כאן? כי מפה רואים את בית המקדש, ובבית הכרם לא רואים. אז אולי מבחינת עסקת נדל"ן זה היה פספוס. אם היו קונים בבית הכרם היו מרוויחים יותר, אבל גם מה שאנשים עושים וזה אחר כך לא מצליחים, זה משאיר חותם לנצח. והם באו לפה בל"ג בעומר, ב-36, והערבים גירשו אותם מפה. כמו היום, כל מה שקורה, העיפו אותם מכאן. ולכאורה היינו צריכים להתייאש. אבל לא יודע, הקדוש ברוך הוא, העם היהודי בנוי עם איזה חומר כזה, של אמונה ודבקות, ולא מתייאשים. וכשאנחנו התחלנו להסתובב פה באזור הזה, אני זוכר במנהל, אני עבדתי במנהל תקופה מסוימת, אמרו לי שיש איזה, הייתה לנו איזו הצעה מערבי שרצה למכור בית בעיר העתיקה, אמרו לי, תשמע, יש שטחים של יהודים באבו דיס, תיתן לערבי פה. בשבילי אבו דיס היה כמו ג'בליה בעזה, לא יודע. באתי לפה, אמרתי, זה אבו דיס? רואים את ההרודיון, רואים את בית המקדש, זה אבו דיס, זה ירושלים. ובאותו רגע אמרתי, אני לא עושה שום החלפה, ואנחנו מתחילים לעבוד על המקום הזה. זה היה נראה רחוק מאוד, לא הייתה את הגדר הזו, ולאט לאט התחברנו למקום, והגענו לפה יום אחד, בשבועות, ערב שבועות, עם קבוצה עם הרב בני אלון, זיכרונו לברכה, לתפוס את המקום, כי אז התחילו לדבר על ההסכמים עם הרשות הפלסטינאית, לתת להם פה קפיטל, בירה ופרלמנט. הגענו לפה, ותוך כמה שעות למחרת בבוקר הגיע לפה הליקופטר עם משטרה, ואנחנו היינו בתוך מכוניות של ברינקס כזה. נכנסנו לפה, כי לא היה בית, לא היה פה כלום. באנו לפה בשביל לשים יתד, אבל המשטרה ראתה בזה איזה מין התגרות כזו. הם מבינים שאנחנו נכנסים כשיש בית, אבל להיכנס באוטו זה לא בפרוטוקול. אז העיפו אותנו מכאן, והיה אז ברק בשלטון, ואמרנו בסדר, נחכה פה שיהיה בית, אבל לא היה. לא היה בית, ואז התחלנו לבנות את בית שרה. היה ערבי אחד, שהוא מכר לנו את בית ויטנברג. והיו לנו יחסים מאוד טובים, והוא היה גר גם פה. ואמרנו לו, אנחנו רוצים פה בית, כי המשטרה רוצה שיהיה לנו בית. בלי בית, כן. בלי כן, הציפור לא דוגרת על הביצים. אז אנחנו צריכים לעשות כן. אז היינו צריכים לשלוח ערבי שבנה את הבית בשבילו. אף אחד לא ידע שהוא בונה את זה בשבילנו. וככה זה לקח חודשים, זה לא היה פשוט. לפקח עליו, לא יכולנו בעצם להשגיח עליו. ויום אחד באנו לבדוק את הבית, את בית שרה, ואז היה פיצוץ בקפה הלל בעמק רפאים, שדוקטור אפלבאום והבת שלו נרצחו בפיגוע, ואז הממשלה החליטה לעשות את הגדר. ואומרים לנו בבוקר שהגדר הולכת להיות למטה, איפה שנסענו עם האוטובוס, שמה למטה, וכל השטח הזה הולך לערבים. עכשיו, יש איזה רגע תמיד שמחליטים בממשלה לעשות משהו, אף אחד לא בודק את הפרטים, פחות 100 דונם, יותר 100 דונם, מה זה משנה? נעשה את זה למטה, זה יהיה קו אחד, ונגמר הסיפור. ובזכות שהיה לנו את בית שרה, אז אמרנו, מה, אנחנו נהיה על הגבול? קשרנו למשרד הביטחון, ואני זוכר, הייתי עם הילדים בכנרת. אמרו לי, יש פקיד שהוא אחראי על הגדר. אז אני אומר, שלום, מדבר מתי, זה וכו'. הוא אומר לי, מאיפה אתה? אני אומר לו, אני מהכנרת. הייתי עם הילדים בתוך המים. אתה מהכנרת? כאילו חשב, אני קיבוצניק עם שפם, מפלגת העבודה. אז הוא אומר, מה הבעיה שלך? אמרתי, אתם לוקחים לי את הבית פה. מה זה הבית פה? הבית שאנחנו נמצאים עכשיו, זה בית שערבי בנה על אדמה יהודית. והיה יהודי אחד חסיד בויאן, שהוא קנה את הקרקע, והוא ידע שיש על הקרקע בית של ערבי, ועשינו משפט נגד הערבי, ובאנו במסגרת ותכננו יום אחד להגיע לפה, לקנות את הבית, לא יודע, לזכות במשפט, זה קשה. כל דבר קשה, זה לא... אני צריך להסביר אחרי זה מה שהסברת על בית הצלם, זה לא כזה טיק 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 טיק, כאילו הוקוס פוקוס.
לא, בטח, אני קיצרתי.
קיצרת את זה. אבל כל דבר קשה. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא בונה ירושלים השם, ואז הערבי גר פה, ובאנו למשרד הביטחון, אמרנו להם, באתי עם הילדים מהכנרת עם הבגדי ים למשרד הביטחון בתל אביב, אמרתי, איך אתם לוקחים לנו את הבית הזה? גרו פה ערבים, אבל זה אדמה יהודית. הוא אומר, אין מה לעשות. אנחנו לא יכולים לעשות אקורדיון כזה. אנחנו עושים קו ישר. אבל משמיים, שרה נלחמה. זה לא, אנחנו לא, ירושלים של מעלה וירושלים של מטה, זה ביחד. ואני אקצר את זה, בסוף, לפחות את הקטע הזה אני אגיד לכם, הפקיד אומר לי, אין מה לעשות. ואני באתי עם הכנרת, והיה לי איזה חלון שבור באוטו. אמרתי לפקיד, תשמור לילדים רגע, תעשה בייביסיטר. אני הולך להביא את האוטו ליד המשרד שלך, שלא יגנבו לי את הבגדים ואת כל מה שהיה באוטו. הוא אומר, בסדר, כמה זה ייקח לך? אמרתי, כמה דקות. הלכתי להביא את האוטו, והתקשרתי לראש עיריית מעלה אדומים, בני קסריאל. לא לראש עיריית, סליחה, לעוזר של שר הביטחון, רון שכנר, הוא היה לפני כן ראש המועצה בהר חברון, הוא היה עוזר של שאול מופז, ואני אומר לו, תשמע, משרד הביטחון הולך לקחת לנו פה 100 דונם. הוא אומר, תקשיב, עוד 5 דקות נכנס בני קסריאל לשר הביטחון, בני קסריאל הוא פה, שכן, תתקשר אליו ותגיד לו שידבר על זה, ואני ככה ימשיך את הדברים שלו. אני מתקשר לבני קסריאל, אומר, איך אתה יודע שאני צריך להגיע? אמרתי לו, שמעתי ככה וככה, אומר, אני לא יודע על מה אתה מדבר, אבל אני אגיד מה שאתה אומר. כאילו, אתה רוצה להזיז את הגדר? אמרתי לו, כן, שישאירו את אבו דיס בתוך החומה. וככה זה היה. אז כשאני כבר יצאתי עם הילדים, מהפקיד, הוא יצא משר הביטחון, הוא אומר, שר הביטחון החליט, כל השטח היהודי פה בקדמת ציון, ייכנס בפנים, לא ייגעו בו. השגחה אלוקית, נס, זה לא דבר נורמלי. אבל זה לא עזר. באנו לפה ומשרד הביטחון התחיל לעשות את זה באמצע, ואז נכנסתי פה לערבי, פה גר ערבי. אמרתי לו, תגיד לי, אתה רוצה להיות בצד שלנו או בצד של הפלסטינאים? אז הוא אומר לי, עכשיו אני אגיד באנגלית, I blame you. You bring Arafat. You bring Arafat. I want to be with you. move the wall. תזיז את זה, תפנס, לא יודע מה הוא אמר. אמרתי לו, טוב, אז תכתוב מכתב למשרד הביטחון. ישבנו פה, אפשר בית הכנסת, הוא כתב מכתב למשרד הביטחון, שהוא רוצה שהגדר, שהוא יהיה בפנים, כי זה השטח המוניציפלי של ירושלים, אבל הגדר, הפילוסופיה של הגדר הייתה שזה לא גדר פוליטית, זו גדר ביטחונית. אז יום אחד יזיזו את זה, כאילו, מי יזיז את זה? אז הוא כתב את זה, הלכנו למשרד הביטחון, ואז הם אומרים, לא, אנחנו רוצים מכתב מהעורך דין שלו. ואז אני חוזר לערבי, פה. הוא עומד איתי פה על הגג. הוא אומר לי, תקשיב, תעזוב אותנו במכתבים. זה בית של יהודים. אני רוצה למכור את זה. אני אומר לכם את האמת, זה בונה ירושלים השם, כשזה יורד לפרטים, זה פשוט מייזי, אי אפשר להאמין. ואז קנה, דיברנו עם דוקטור מוסקוביץ', שסכום הוא רצה, אז היה הרבה כסף, בשביל בית שהוא לא שלו, על אדמה יהודית $1.25 מיליון. אבל זה מוסקוביץ'. הם ראו, היה לו ויז'ן, הדוקטור, וגם לאשתו, ויז'ן כזה, להסתכל 10 שנים קדימה, והוא שילם את הכסף, ואז היינו כבר, כשמשרד הביטחון בנה את הגדר, כבר היינו בתוך הבית. אז מה, הם יוציאו אותנו? ואז הייתם פה צריכים לראות עשרות פקידים, מהנדסים, איך לעשות את הגדר כזה זיגזג, ממש כמו אקורדיון, וככה בעצם הבית הזה נכנס גם לגדר. אז את יכולה להגיד ששרה לא מעורבת, היא עובדת בעטרת כהנים, אבל זה קשה להגיד, אבל זה המצב. זה לא דבר נורמלי, והיום אנחנו נמצאים, אנחנו מקווים, בוא נאמר ככה, זה ייקח כל פעם, היה נדמה לנו שגמרנו, אנחנו מקווים שנלך להפקיד פה שכונה של 300 יחידות דיור. זה מתקרב. זה כבר אוטוטוטוטו, זה יתקרב. אני מקווה שהחמאס יהיה יותר רגוע, והוא לא יגיד אם יבנו פה, ישלחו טילים וזה, זה נהיה פה סרט חדש. אנחנו לא מכירים את השיחה הזו. תעשה ככה, אם לא תבטל את הדיון, נראה טילים. משהו קרייזי, לא נורמלי נהיה פה. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא כנראה, אני מרגיש כמו בחדר לידה, יש פה איזה, אנחנו נולדים מחדש, חוזרים לא 48, יהיה משהו יותר גדול, משהו גדול הולך לקרוא, ואנחנו נרגיש את זה פה. כשיפקידו את התוכנית אתם בטח תשמעו, כולם ידברו על זה. רצו פה לעשות פרלמנט לפלסטינאים, היה החלטה, כל האזור הזה היה צריך להיות שטח זאונים, כמו בית לחם. והיה רעש גדול, ופתאום ביטלו את ההחלטה הזו, בפקטו, לא דיורי, בפקטו. ואני מרגיש שכל הזמן שרה איתנו, ואנחנו איתה, ולכם, בשבילנו זה שמחה גדולה שהשם שלה פה. איך אומרים ביידיש? איך בנדוג. היא נמצאת פה והיא איתנו, ואנחנו נתפלל בעזרת השם שכל האיסורים האלה שעם ישראל עובר, ואומר לך בדמי חיי, ואומר לך בדמי חיי, נזכה לראות בסוף את הגאולה השלמה, ואנחנו נראה את זה מפה. ושרה תהיה הראשונה, היא תהיה הראשונה מהגג שמה, בעזרת השם.
So I always say that, I mean, I personally always feel that my mother is watching us, part of us doing things. And when I say us, I include my family and all of her family, her nieces and her nephews and everyone that she loved. But there's two others families, let's say, that I always say that she's taking care of them. One of them is Esther Alawan, that she's taking care of her up in Shemaim. They're together and she's taking care of her and she's watching her parents and making sure that they're okay, or as okay as they can be. And the other people are Avishag and her family, who moved they were the first and the founders of Beit Sara, and have lived here all these years with their family. And we've had a very nice connection. נכון, היה לנו קצת קשר, בדרך כלל זה עם התיווך של דניאל, של פרחים בשבועות ועוגות גבינה, וכששמעתי על הרעיון ועל השלישייה, זה היה כאילו שמחה גדולה. אמרתי שאימא שלי תמיד התפללה בשבילכם ושומרת עליכם, וברשותכם אני אשמח שתגיד כמה מילים על מה זה לגור ולחיות בבית שרה.
שלום לכולם. באמת שאני עומד לפניכם ומרגיש חלק מהמשפחה, לא רק בשביל המילים. I wasn't married when I heard that Sarah was murdered in כביש המנהרות לפני 20 שנה. ואחרי זה התחתנתי עם אבישג וזכינו להיות first 4 families that are coming to live in Kidmat Zion and in Beit Sara. 17 שנה, 17 years, and we feel that it was like yesterday. The exciting that was in that night, we still remember that. Sorry that I mix Hebrew and Ivrit and English. Let's do it together. מאז אותו לילה לפני 17 שנה, עם כל ההתרגשות לבוא לפה, והדינה, כן, אנחנו מרגישים אתכם מדי פעם, יוני והדינה, מהמכתבים, מהפרחים, מהעוגות. הקשר הוא לא יומיומי, אבל אנחנו מרגישים. אבל כתוב על צדיקים שאין עושים נפשות לצדיקים, לא צריך לעשות מצבה על קבר של צדיק, דבריהם הם זיכרונם. ואני רוצה לומר שבמקרה של שרה, השם יקום דמה, זה לא רק שזוכרים אותה, and there's a sign, שרה בית שרה, ממש מזכירים אותה יום יום. How many times a day? At least 20 times, even more. Because when I want to move from here to Old City, I call the Moked and I ask, can I get a car from Sara to Ashpot? Or I want to come back from work. Can I get a car from Ashpot to Sara? And the same, my neighbors and my wife and my children. So, do it at least 20 times a day, 365 Shabbatot and Chagim, do it 300, 17 years, it's a lot of time. So Sarah is still alive by you and by us also. Kol hayom Sarah, and you have to know that there is Ashpot. The big Shar Ashpot is one Musar, and we have Male Azitim, almost 100 families, and we call it Ras, Male Azitim. Sarah is the same as you want to go to Bet Hatzalah, you want to go to Bet HaChoshen, you want to go to Kfar Teimanim, so you mention Sarah. Every time we say Sara Ashpot, Ashpot Sara. אז שרה היא ממש חיה אצלנו במובן אמיתי. ומה זה אומר לגור בבית שרה? אני אומר the best place in the world is Kidmat Zion. You see the scenery, you see the view. And to live here, it's a big development. From 4 families at the beginning, no kids, because Mati, according to the police orders, no kids, and it began here. The first one is now going to Shirut Leumi. The first born girl was here, Tiferet Navon. And from 4 families, 6 families, 8 families, 8 families. You know what it's? How many percent is it? From 4 families to 10 families, and every day 2 cars, busy with a lot of children going from here, 7:30. The driver is Arab, and we go every day from here to Ashpot to learn in the עיר העתיקה, הבנים והבנות, וחוזרים ככה בצהריים. אז לגור בקדמת ציון זה פנטסטיק, ולגור בבית שרה זה עוד יותר פנטסטיק. כי כאן, המקום הזה, it's too busy for us. 4 families, shul, and the hall, it's too much. We want quiet, we want the scenery, so we are 2 families in Beit Sara, and every day you walk from here, from shul to Beit Sara, from Beit Sara to the playground, הכל הולך ביחד. אז אנחנו מרגישים זכות מאוד מאוד גדולה בבית שרה, וכל שנה באיסרו חג שבועות אני נזכר באותו אירוע קשה, ואני כל כך שמח בבחירה שלכם ששרה ממשיכה לחיות. עם ישראל חי וקיים, וגם שרה אמא שלכם every day חיה וקיימת בקדמת ציון, בלבבות שלנו. אני רוצה רק עוד משהו לומר, כי אנחנו לא רוצים רק לחיות את העבר ואת ההווה. כשאנחנו תמיד מדברים, אז משתדלים תמיד להזכיר את המרא דאתרא. אתם יודעים מי המרא דאתרא שלנו? יושב כאן, הוא דיבר לפניי. מתי באמת בלעדיו לא היה את המקום. וכשאומרים מרא דאתרא זה לא רב שמגיע למקום, אלא מי שמוליד את המקום, מי שחי אותו, הוא המרא דאתרא. מתי לא אוהב שאני אומר את זה, אבל אנחנו אומרים את זה כי אנחנו ככה מאמינים. אבל אני רוצה לומר משהו. מתי is very busy. He loves Kidmat Zion, and he loves כפר התימנים, and he loves the old city and Abu Tor, and now 2 מתחמים חדשים עם כפר התימנים. You know, when you have a lot of kids, every kid wants the maximum, לתשומת לב. ואני אומר, כיוון שאמרתי מקודם, ששרה היא חיה אצלנו, אנחנו רוצים שהיא גם תמשיך לחיות. ולכן כיוון שאנחנו משפחה אחת, וכולנו רוצים את התפתחות ירושלים, ומתי אוהב את כל ירושלים, I must say that he must do more for בית שרה. אני אומר את זה גם בעברית, בערבית אני לא יודע. מתי, אתה מוכרח לעשות יותר בשביל בית שרה. אתה עושה בשביל כל ירושלים, אתה עושה בשביל אבו תור, בשביל העיר העתיקה, בשביל כפר התימנים, ואנחנו יודעים שאתה גם עושה פה. אבל אני חושב שאם אנחנו נעבור את היום הזה, זין בסיוון, תשפ"א, ומתי לא יעשה יותר בשביל בית שרה, אז אנחנו קצת מפספסים. ובית שרה has to be developed more and more. כל קדמת ציון, אני מסכים, אנחנו רוצים, אנחנו מתפללים, אבל בית שרה צריך להיות הרבה יותר. אני אגיד לכם ש our family קצת גדלה, ואנחנו רוצים להישאר לגור בבית שרה. ומתי יודע, הוא לא שוכח לרגע, אנחנו מבקשים ממתי שיעזור לנו להמשיך לחיות בבית שרה. והרבה פעמים כשפוגשים ככה ישראלים וקצת אמריקאים או פרו אמריקאים כאלה, אז ישר חושבים מה ישראלים רוצים? כסף, כסף. רבותיי, לא כסף. אני מאוד מבקש מכל האורחים כאן, בעיקר מעדינה ומיוני, מתי יש לו הרבה עבודה, אבל אתם חייבים לבקש ממתי שבית שרה יתקדם. It's almost 17 years that התקדמנו, יש חצר יפה, יש הכל, אבל אפשר לעשות הרבה יותר. יש דירה למטה שיכולה להתפתח, יש דירה בצד, הדירה שלנו שיכולה להתפתח. אני חושב שאם אנחנו רוצים להמשיך את המפעל של שרה, אנחנו צריכים להמשיך בדבר הזה. ונזכה כולנו לתחיית המתים ולבניין שלם. והיום אני מוכרח לומר לכם מילה אחת על כל האירועים שקורים פה. שואלים אותנו, what's going? איך הדרכים? אז אנחנו לא אומרים שקשה, כי לגור בירושלים זו זכות גדולה. אנחנו אומרים, it's a little bit challenge. זה מורכב, זה מאתגר. It's a little bit complex. זה קצת מורכב, אבל ברגע שאותם רשעים מעזה יודעים לומר שירושלים קשורה לעזה, ועזה לירושלים, אנחנו מבינים שגם אם הם לא מבינים מה שהם עושים, הם מפתחים את הקשר של כולנו, של תל אביב ושל שדרות ושל צפון הארץ ושל לוד ושל רמלה. בסוף עם ישראל זוכר שאם הוא רוצה לחיות הוא חייב את ירושלים, וכל המשמעות של החיים שלו בכל רחבי הארץ ובכל רחבי העולם זה בזכות ירושלים. אז ביחד כולנו נפעל, נתפלל ונעשה לבניין שלם בירושלים. חיים טובים, תודה רבה לכם שבאתם, מאוד מאוד שמחנו שהגעתם לפה.
Okay, we're just going to show a little, I hope you guys could see, my daughter made a beautiful matzeget. Some of you knew my mother and some of you didn't. Some of you knew her from only recently and some from way back when, and there's a little bit of everything here. Yeta, Sara, my baby, made the matzeget, and a little help from Judena. Okay, want to move closer? Want to bring your chairs or stand closer? If you can't see.
Yeah.
And we can go.
Yeah.
a roll.
Samara, what are you making? Rolls?
Like a bagel or a roll? A roll? Is that a good roll? Yeah? Okay, let's put it on the plate. Okay. That's our roll. This is this is Daniela's roll, and this is Jordana's roll. Okay?
Who made the other cruddy rolls?
Safka made the rest.
I'll break even in 2 months.
Manny, that was awesome.
What, wasn't it great?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Let's go back.
That's the Mulan.
We brought it from Mulan, you to drink. We didn't think you were drinking it all the time.
Everyone, please make sure that you don't leave anything here. It's hard to get back here.
I also want to say thank you to Daniel. Thank you for Daniel for being with us today and doing everything today and leading us today and teaching us today and for everything that he does for Ateret Cohanim. I forgot to mention my dear love Rebecca and Chaim who are videoing and photographing today.
We can watch it again today.
Thank you so much.
I put them in the front pocket. Yeah, we're going home now. Do you want anything else? Do you not want to go home? Do you want to stay here all day?
I want to know something you want to buy.
If he lets Abba take care of her, then that would sound great.
שלום, את אשתו של יוני?
אני אשתו של יוני דניאלה, אני מאוד. אתה,
הבת של אבישי.
הבנות שלך היו כאלו חמודות, עם הפרפזים, ועם הבנות שלי, ממש תודה.
Our pleasure, זה באמת הנקודה
שלך. זה לא משהו שקורה ביום יומי. כמעט השארתי לבנות בבית, אבל לראות את זה באמיתיות ולא רק מהסיפורים, זה עולם אחר לגמרי.
את לא היית פה? מה את אומרת?
אנחנו נשואים 10 שנים, אז או שהוא הלך בלעדיי או שהוא גם לא היה 10 שנים.
אבל יש לנו פה חורשה מדהימה. יש פה פארק לילדים. סתם באיזה יום. אפילו אם אתם קצת מפחדים, תגיעו לכותל. מהכותל, אמרתי לך, רוצים אשפות שרה. תתקשרו אלינו.
יאללה, זהו, צריך להגיד.
היא אומרת דניאלה שלא הייתה אף פעם פה.
Yeah, we're going on the bus. זה המשפחה שגרים בבית שרה. You don't want to go? You want to stay at their house? כל הדרך באוטובוס. Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Tell mommy we want to come back.
Yeah, should we come play here again?
כן.
With the girls?
שבתות, אז שהיינו קצת אנשים, לא, עכשיו אנחנו 10.
אנחנו מוסיפים עוד משפחה, מה אתה רוצה?
תוסיף, אני אברך אתכם שהוספתם.
רגע, הכסף בבנק. כסף בבנק מחכים.
אני רוצה את האנשים בבית, לא את הכסף בבנק.
וגם אנחנו לא רוצים שקל מהעמותה. אנחנו רוצים להרחיב את הבית. לא רוצים כסף.
רוצים יותר אנשים ויותר גם לפתח את הבית. בהתחלה היינו 4 משפחות. אז כל שבת היינו קוראים לבחורי ישיבה להשלים עניין. זה היה מדהים, פרויקט אירוח. אז כל פעם, כן, היינו... אחרי זה הבחורים כבר חלק כל כך אהבו, הם הזמינו אותנו לחתונות שלהם כבר, ממש. ונוצר פה חרדים, וליטאים, וחסידים, ושסניקים, וכיפות סרוגות, והכל. וזה הפך להיות פרויקט אירוח כל שבוע, ולנו היה כיף, ולהם היה כיף, והיו אוכלים אצלנו, אצל כל השכנים. פשוט ככה. עכשיו אנחנו 10 משפחות, אז בקורונה כולם היו בבית, יש גם כבר 4 ילדים בר מצווה. אז עכשיו משפחות נוסעות, אנחנו סופרים כמה, עכשיו פחות, אנחנו נהלכים מדי פעם. אבל בגדול זה היה גם פרויקט אירוח שזכינו לו, שהוא ממש היה נפלא.
אם מישהו רצה לבוא, אי אפשר לבוא לבד.
למה? הוא מתקשר אליי, ואז אני בודק אם צריך אותו לשבת, או נגיד לו תבוא עם חבר או עם 2. ואז אנחנו מסדרים את זה, הוא מגיע לשער האשפות ליד הכותל, ואנחנו עושים לו אשפות שרה, הוא בא לפה. 7 דקות, 10 דקות נסיעה ברכב ביטחון. היה פרויקט אירוח גדול מאוד.
יש פה פירות אם אתם רוצים.
עוד באמת זכין, איזה איסולייטד, כל כך לבד, אז פתאום כל שבת היו לנו בחורים, זה היה נורא כיף. זה היה הרבה עבודה להכין, הרבה עבודה. לפעמים היה, נשארו רק 2 משפחות מ4, אז זה 8 בחורים.
אז כל פעם שהשתחררו.
או אשתי ואחרות, כל פעם. לא, יש לנו רכבים, ואנחנו נוסעים, אנחנו נוסעים עם המכוניות שלנו. כן,
כל מי שיש לו...
כן. כן, אנחנו נוסעים, כן. זהו, בסך הכל אנחנו ביחד ככה, נהנים מה... איפה אתם גרים? ראש השנה, פרוז'קט, יום כיפור פרוז'קט, שמחת תורה זה, אבל מה ששנים לא רוצה
everyone, those who want to stay with pleasure, we need more people. The bus is leaving though, so it's up to you.
People watching? Yeah. Everyone who's watching live or not live, maybe a little bit later, just want to say thank you for joining us virtually and from far. And you know, it's just as meaningful to be here in person as virtually. And thank you so much. And yeah.
We're all going together.
Come on,